things need to stay between us. If I'm your partner, if I'm into that, which I'm not, I'd like to clarify that. I really would. I'm not yucking anyone's yum, but I would never tell.
I would never tell anyone. YouTube, you were in on our early prep, us getting set up for this show that I'm so excited about. And us being like, I think we can sell this show. Maybe we can like make this a thing.
Watch me get clipped later.
I know, right?
Like,
well, that's okay if we do. We are trying to sell the show, okay? We need to make money doing content. We do this stuff for free all the time. If you are a producer out there watching, me and Dava are your gals when it comes to Friday Tea and Police Scanner. So here we go.
Oh my God. And yeah, money, the TikTok, oh my gosh. TikTok has changed so much in the last several months in that regard, which is not on our agenda, but yeah, oh my God.
It's not on our agenda. I struggle with TikTok because that's like, you know, that feels like where I grew up in many ways. Like that's where we found all of our friends and did all this stuff. And it's like, ugh. So yeah, but welcome to Police Scanner. We're kicking it off. It's Police Scanner time with me and my friend Dava, who is in New Mexico, the weirdest place in America right now for all the true crimes. All the crimes are happening there.
Well, and see, the thing about what I want to say about Zorro Ranch, and it's a hard thing because I don't want to say that no one was trying, because a lot of people, I went out for the Women's March, which, did you see pictures from that? It was amazing.
It was good.
There were people who showed up with just buckets of flowers and like handed them out so that everybody could feel really involved. It was really sweet. But let me tell you about that day. And now I have video of all of this, and I need to put it all together. I just haven't. There were no cops like really out where we were. There were some on the road making sure nobody went into the property. But the property itself, there was like 3 cops on a steady patrol around the entire property, the entire Women's March.
Okay, so they were there to protect Zorro Ranch from the Women's March. But then when you went out there, they weren't still there. All we were asking is that they hold the perimeter. We knew it was going to take a while for like a big force to come out and for them to start digging or doing whatever they're going to do. But you went out there and it didn't seem like even it was secure from anybody tampering with it.
The only person that I saw out there was an officer at the gate, and my interaction with him was honestly a little strange. Maybe I'm reading into it, and I'm always open to that being a possibility. So I was taking pictures, and I drive a truck, so I stood on top of my toolbox.
Of course you do.
Yeah, of course. And gas prices, I could cry, but.
Girl, talk about a crime. Talk about a crime.
Exactly. So I'm standing on my toolbox and I'm just taking pictures. I was nowhere near the property. I parked across the street. I'm always really respectful in that aspect because they will arrest you for trespassing, like 100%. So he's like in his car at first, and then he gets out of his car and he like leans on the gate and starts kind of like staring at me, which was strange.
Ew.
And I was just like,
don't like that.
And so I smiled and waved and was like, hope you have a good day. And then I got in my truck and drove like half a mile down the road. But I was like, it felt weird. It felt very weird. But he was the only one out there.
That is very weird. Hold on, I'm getting echo on this one. All right, go ahead, talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, because remember, guys, we have no budget, no producer. Show for sale, Police Scanner. So I'm out here. First of all, my team will tell you I am, quote, bad at the computer. I am an elder millennial who learned how to type from Mavis Fekin Teaches Typing, and whose first like computer was a literal word processor. Like it wasn't even, I wrote my papers on like a literal typewriter.
Excuse me.
Like, so now I have to be good at the computer, and I'm trying to like, set up our StreamYard and set up our stuff. Sometimes we're live, sometimes we're not. On Monday, we thought we were live for 15 minutes. We were not at all. We had to redo the whole beginning of the show. So today you get early setup, me and Dava talking about the show, what we're going to talk about on YouTube. Now we're live on TikTok. The TikTok finally clicked in. If we were going to clip the show, right, and we were going to do this professionally, I feel like I'm on Kids Incorporated, where I'm like, let's just turn on all this shit and see what happens. We would do it from here. So we'll do a clap so that I could edit it later. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Oh.
Stop. 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. That's close enough. We did it. Okay, that's going to be our clip for later. I'm so excited to see us together too. We are best friends to me, although we have only talked like maybe 6 times outside of watching each other's content.
Isn't that so funny about the parasocial thing? There's like so many people like that I'm like, oh yeah, that's my friend. And then I think about it and I'm like, I consider them a friend. We've talked like 3 times, but you know, it's whatever.
But I've always wanted to do the show with you because while I do like hard news and I'm doing like all the stuff that's like political and all these things, I am a secret reality TV junkie. I am constantly looking into the true crimification of how the world of like American politics and American reality television intersect, and the acquisitions and mergers that are happening, the legal battles that these people have, and how that really does impact everyday Americans. Like, you might not think that the Bachelorette and the Mormon wives drama is going to affect you, but this will have an impact on major legislation that will come out, and
No, it
it's
will.
important.
And that's what, see, I love that you brought that up, because that's the thing about, I've gotten comments sometimes like, oh, I thought you spoke about history. And I'm like, no, no, no. This history, this media history is so important to all of this. It was actually funny. Recently in the Tyra Banks, they had done one on this documentary. They actually blamed sociology, which I'm a sociologist, for reality TV. And I was like, that wasn't our fault, but okay, we'll take it. Isn't that so funny? They're like, but reality TV is just this big sociological study. And I was like, okay, they're cooking, let them cook. Like,
It's a sociological study, but it also has to do with late stage capitalism, right? Because to produce a sitcom costs so much money. Plus, when they would run them in reruns, people would be able to make a living off that. If you were on Seinfeld, let's say, or one of those older shows, you would be making a decent residual check for the rest of your life as that show went into syndication. Yeah. That is not the case anymore. And they discovered this. I used to be a chef. We discovered this in the competition cooking shows thing. So Food Network was really a pioneer on reality television. When you go on these cooking shows, you don't get paid. So they get a ton of content, a ton of personalities, a ton of eyeballs, and it costs basically nothing. They have like a couple studios, and the talent is not paid, or at least it wasn't when I was doing it back then. Maybe they've changed it a little bit now. And you're getting tons of show that they play over and over and over and over and over, but they don't have to pay the people other than maybe the hosts of it. And then reality television picked up, and with like the Jersey Shore and all these kind of things, with people who just wanted to be famous, and they either didn't pay them or they paid them extremely little for what the value was. Then you had like American Idol and like X Factor. Every week, these people, for the chance to maybe someday make money, are giving, they're creating content for free. And so that is where reality television and all of this comes to me in such a weird way, because I'm like, we completely removed a lot of the professional writers and actors and showrunners in favor of this kind of like competition show.
No, well, and that actually, so this is such a good point. And also, too, another part of those wages things, I always try to throw this in, is that you don't have to pay the kids. So in reality TV and YouTuber kids and stuff, right, Coogan laws don't cover that, because those didn't exist when Coogan laws became a thing, right? So you don't actually have to pay. So like channels like TLC and all the ones that have these like family shows or whatever, when you actually get down to it, they were saving money in that they didn't have to be fair or pay these kids, not even, and Coogan only takes 15%, which is ridiculous, but they don't have to do anything. And even in the states where they have those laws now and people have campaigned for that, like Utah has those, California, I think there's 4 now. All you have to do is move. And that's why we are seeing this mass exodus of these people from these states, so that they can continue to exploit their children.
Folks are saying they're having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I don't know if we got to move your mic up a little bit or something.
Let's see.
Might have to hold it. You know how we like TikTok hold our mic?
I know. Is this better?
That's better.
See, we're
she
still
goes.
setting up things here.
This is show number 1. You're here for the inception. All right, can you guys hear her better?
And we can just go straight raw audio for today.
I think that's working. Yeah, that works. Everybody says thank you. Good.
Better? Okay, cool.
Subtitles and captions. I don't know how to turn them on now. We are getting, one of my friends who's a producer is going to help us through next week's show. So I will write down that we want captions on the screen. Totally agree.
How's this on the collar, y'all?
Can you hear it better with it on the collar? Let us know.
We're like, this is all of our little like snafus here.
Well, I like building the show together. I like that we're doing the show together with the
with the
audience.
I have my microphone on low gain because just TikTok editing in that app is miserable, honestly.
It's a bit quiet on the collar. They're saying you're going to have to hold it, props.
Okay. Actually, that works because it gives me something to do with my hands, and we all know I'm
a
hopper and I'm a fidgeter, so this will be a lot better.
All right, so our request is that we start today's show, because this is a group show with the audience. It is, and it always will be. This is what I wanted, like a dialogue where we could all talk together. I'm sick of making videos at people. It's time for us to talk together. So maybe we could get a phone line. I'm going to write that down, where people could maybe like call in like it's Frasier.
That would be amazing. Oh my
That
gosh.
would be
No, like
so dope.
years ago, I had this
Yes.
idea for like Dear Abby, basically, but then I was like,
Yes.
well, but like having people send in like snail mail nowadays, is that necessarily going to work? And I never, so I am down with that idea.
Done. All right, we're getting a phone for next week. I'm going to try and get a phone, and we'll have a couple ringers call in. We'll have a couple people who are I've known for a long time as dust bunnies and fans of the show, so I know you won't swear or mess up our algorithm. And then we'll get a phone screener. Oh my God, we've got a lot of thoughts for this show.
Oh my God, a
Okay, so
landline. Ugh. I
I
was in
love
my great grandma's house recently and saw a landline, and I was like, what is that?
the
And
kids
it
have
rang.
landlines now. It's called Tin Can, and it's essentially a landline. It was the hottest toy for Christmas. My sister's like, "Do I need to get this for my niece?" Like, but they want to be able to talk to their friends, but they kids really do feel burdened by the cell phone, I guess, quite a bit, and it's like
Mm-mm.
constant interruptions, and so they're learning how to talk on the phone again. I was like, "All right, good for them." Folks want us to start with the secret lives of Mormon wives, of which nothing is a secret and none of them are Mormon anymore, and the
Yeah.
Bachelorette drama. So let's get into this.
Well, see, I have a question. So here's my thing that I have the biggest question about this is that the show, just the basic premise of it, the name is incorrect. They're not, most of them aren't wives, or if they were wives or whatever they've got going on, and their lives aren't secret anymore, and they're not Mormons. I mean, I wonder though how many of them they've talked about officially excommunicating, because I would imagine the church, or whatever you want to call it, a lot of people have another word for it that starts with a C, but I don't know if they would be tolerating this if they weren't as public, because I've noticed with these groups, and the fundamentalists are like this as well.
Yep.
They won't go after people who are really public because they don't want to look bad.
Well, and because it boosts searches for Mormon. So Jamie
Hmm.
Loftus, who's a journalist that I really love, and she does the show 16th Minute of Fame, did one about Mormon influencers. And the fact that, like, on YouTube, the Mormon church is allegedly, reportedly, funneling money into buying clicks for anything that says Mormon, whether it's good or bad. So and it's like 25 RPM. It's $25 RPM. It's extremely
Oh my
high. So if you're
God.
talking about Mormon stuff, they're putting a ton of money into it, because whether it's good or bad about the Mormons, you're searching Mormon, and then they're collecting data on people who have searched Mormon, and they're, maybe trying to send them a Bible, maybe trying to like pipeline them into Tradwife content. So
Hmm.
I bet that they are keeping the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives thing going because it is so good for the SEO, for the Mormon church in general, that everybody is searching this right now. And this is where we say that there are deeper crimes than the ones that you're seeing. We, of course, know about her domestic violence accusation and admission. There's not even, I mean, she was convicted. In 2023 of domestic
Hmm.
violence, she pled guilty to assault charges. They knew about this. So there's somebody that's making money off of this, and that's why it keeps happening.
Well, that's what I was actually surprised. We were talking about this when YouTube, I guess, was watching, but nobody else.
Yes.
Here, let me see. They're still saying, let me unplug my mic completely. Let's see.
All right, unplug your mic. In the meanwhile, Chuck Norris just passed away. Speaking of the 90s, this is terrible news.
Oh
Poor
my
Chuck
God,
Norris.
no, really?
I know.
Okay, is that better? That should be better. I can actually hear you better too. Is this better, or am I
Can
too
you?
loud?
It's kind of echoey. All right, let us know what you think. Moving the mic didn't help on my end. Talk a little bit more. Let's see.
Okay, am I echoey? Am I echoing for everybody? Because I am in like a big room.
Oh, people say it's better now.
Okay, cool. Sweet.
Much
Okay.
better. Done. Perfect.
Sweet. Joe, we got that little thing out of the way. I'm using my lav mic, and I have it set for low gains, so I think that might have been the issue, because I usually use it just to record videos.
Okay, great.
But
Everybody's
yeah,
saying it's
no.
good, so you're good to go.
But like, that's my thing about it is that we had talked about this, like I said, before everyone was there. They are. I think it's interesting they decided to offer her the Bachelorette at all. And we had
I
kind of
know.
talked about that. She has, I mean, it's a rough past, and I'm not saying I have a very rough past myself, but that's probably why they wouldn't cast me. Not charges like that, just to clarify, but that's probably why they wouldn't cast me on something like that.
Mhm.
And that's what I think is interesting about her rise to fame. But there's also the other question that people have brought up with the video that came out and all that stuff, and these DV charges, or IPV, whichever one, is why was it released now? I know a lot of people have
Mhm.
said that. And was it reactive abuse? And I've heard that a lot. But
You
I
know,
wasn't,
I think both can be true. I think it could be true that she has a certain sort of blind rage within her based on, I mean, we've met her mother on the show. I don't think her mother is especially sound in the most recent season, which I know you haven't watched and you didn't miss much other than this. Taylor takes her mother back to where she was born because Taylor's father abandoned them when she was born, essentially.
Mhm.
By the time Taylor was 1 year old, another guy had come along who raised her, adopted her. She had a good life, more siblings, whatever. But they go back to talk about what her birth father was like because he's now passed away. And the mom's like, it was really bad. He was extremely abusive. And they meet with this other friend of the mom's from back then. And he's like, yeah, like he kicked your mom in the stomach, indicating that he kicked her in the stomach while she was pregnant, indicating it was a lot of abuse, indicating that she was pulled around by her hair a lot. I mean, it was awful. Now, the thing that I thought was weird about the episode is the mother is obviously like having a little PTSD about talking about this. And she's like, I don't think I'm ready to talk about it. And she's like, it's been 30 years and I deserve to know. And she's like, what more do you need to know other than he was awful? I was 15 years old. He was 19. And then I left. And then I met your dad. And then you had this life. Brian is her biological father's name, was a bad person. And he did very bad things. And he went on to, I believe, die of a drug overdose or something fairly recently. Reveling in these details of this abuse that her mother underwent. And then her mom's like, sometimes I think I should have put you up for adoption. Maybe you would have had a better life, which is a crazy thing to say to a 31-year-old at this.
God.
But I think, you know, the mom has her own problems. And this obviously was not dealt with. And so now Taylor has her own problems. And the mom sees a lot in Taylor that she went through when she was 15. And so there's a lot of resentment between the two of them. And then it comes to this point. And then she's with Dakota, who I do think really gets Taylor spun up. Now, there's no excuse.
He seems very toxic. And like, I only watched, like I said, I only watched season 1. Because honest to God, I found these people to be, I don't even know the word, like just kind of stereotypical of what I think people think. Oh, well, the Mormons, they say this one thing, but this is what they're really doing in the background. And then 2, I thought it, you know, a lot of the dynamics, like we were talking about the Fruity Pebbles thing, couldn't drag that out of me with a tractor. And they're talking about that to kind of like shame the other people. And it just kind of honestly was really boring to me. And so I'm just kind of surprised that they've been able to have the level of success they have when all of their lives is obviously based in a lot of hypocrisy. And that gets back to the mom in that first season. We had talked about this. She's telling her, you need to go back, you need to go be with your husband, you need to go do this or whatever, when clearly it was a horrible situation for her, and her whole family kind of sits there and backs them up. And now that was very Mormon, and that was very, I don't even want to just say Mormon though, I'm just like religious and
high demand religious. The Christians can be like that too, the Catholics too.
And it's like, I just, you know, don't you just want her to be a happy person as an adult? Because I think too, you run into a lot of social issues when you're still in a place with your parents like that. Sometimes it does spill over into things.
So the things that she's facing right now are, you know, she's already pled guilty to that domestic violence charge from 2003. That's when the video is from. She had caught a new DV charge a week or 2 ago for choking Dakota with his own necklace. They have problems. They should not be near each other. Whatever it is about the two of them is very dangerous. And this doesn't end well. We've seen how this ends. This never ends. This ends with like family annihilation. This does not end well for anybody ever. It never gets better. But some of the other things that she might be facing now that are being less talked about are the fact that the Bachelorette and ABC likely have insurance for some kind of catastrophic need to pull the show off the air. The problem is Disney's likely going to lose that. Their insurance clause very likely won't cover the tens of millions of dollars lost having her be the Bachelorette and pulling the show off the air, which I think is the right thing to do to pull it, because they knew that in 2003 she had this domestic violence charge, and the video is from then. So this is going to be a lack of due diligence. Disney's going to take a big, probably, I heard estimates all the way up to 100 million, minimum of $50 million lost on this Bachelorette not airing situation, and just reputational damage to the brand. She's got crossovers with other shows, the Vanderpump Villa, and you know, it's
I
wild.
saw Cinnabon dropped their partnership with her, and it's kind of along that same lines though of, you know, all of the Bachelorette and making shows about it. So
the one charge you were cool with.
Yeah.
The one with that was fine. That was fine. We didn't have a problem with that.
Sure.
But she did it again. So we've got to come back in. And so that kind of I thought was interesting because Cinnabon's statement said that she no longer aligns with our beliefs. But she did before. And so it's one of those things. I'm like, I don't, it's
you know
giving
who the
TLC.
CEO is of Cinnabon? Do you know about Cinnabon? Okay, so I did a project on this, so I can't wait to tell you about it in my marketing school. So I did a project in grad school on restaurants, literally on like the rise of Hooters and like Twin Peaks and all of those kinds of restaurants, which were very popular in 2005 when I was doing my graduate studies, and just like the structure of them and like the abuse in them and the risk in them. And it was like a risk assessment of restaurants. And the woman who runs Cinnabon now and started Cinnabon used to be the president and CEO of Hooters. And she was, Hooters was started by 3 different men down in Cocoa Beach, Florida or something.
Mm-hmm,
and she was like the woman that was there to sort of make it be like, we're not gross. There's a lady in here. There's a lady who works here.
I have women friends. I can't dislike women.
Binders full of women. And so she was really the business force behind Hooters. Like she's the one who was making the decision. She's an incredible businesswoman, certainly, but definitely willing to work within the structure of the male gaze on certain things. So then she broke out and she started Cinnabon, which is her own venture. And they do a lot, which is interesting, to support unhoused or domestic violence abuse survivors. And so it's odd that they would have had her involved. And they would have sort of gotten through that first tick there because this woman, this is like kind of her thing. And so I'm glad that they've pulled back at this point. And she might not be the CEO at this exact moment, but Cinnabon has had a long history of like being a silent supporter of women in trouble, which is,
I have no idea. And so that makes it even crazier. And that's why I wonder what I would love to work in the background of a reality show. I'd get kicked off set like the first day or kicked out of their house or whatever. But I would love to be in the background just to see like, what is their vetting process? Is there one? Do you run background checks? Because I know just to go on my kid's field trip, I got to go get my fingerprints. You know what I mean? And so what background check? We're putting you on a TV in front of potentially hundreds of millions of people. So I think $25 on a background check would be really great. And maybe we wouldn't run into these things. And that's
just a little background check, a little baby background check. Or just look at her in general. Just watch her show and you'll see that perhaps this was not the right choice. And I did look up Kat Cole is the former well-known president and CEO of Cinnabon. She is now the president of Athletic Greens. So she did move on from Cinnabon to Athletic Greens fairly recently. But
that's amazing. I didn't know that at all.
Another Manosphere product though, Athletic Greens. They sponsor Joe Rogan. You know, this is a very interesting thing, her journey.
Did you watch that documentary?
Because we know weird shit. Yeah. No, the Manosphere? Tell me about it.
Oh my God. Make sure you have like a Benjamin when you watch it or something like that. Because it's just, I want to cover it, but oh my God, they're so vulgar. Like, and for me to say that, I'm not exactly like a Polly Pocket myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the things they said, and then they like took a video of activities and started trying to show it to Louis. Like, oh, look what I did last night. First of all, bud, come on. What? And he's like, well, did she know you were filming it? And blah. And he's like, oh yeah, she did. She likes it. She wants to be on the internet. She wants clout. And I'm like, you are a liar, sir.
You're a liar.
Yeah, it was a hard watch. It was, but interesting. And I think Louis Theroux did a really thorough job. But I liked it. But yeah, no, back to, I always go off on little tangents, but with the Bachelorette stuff and everything that's going on with that, I was pleasantly surprised to see that they pulled the season. Most places don't. And I was really glad that they made that decision because perhaps it will be an example to other places. Yes, you're going to lose money and it sucks, but you're going to lose a lot more money if they hurt someone under your watch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And people sort of already knew that she was back with Dakota, so it had ruined it. Now, me and Dr. Shand were planning to do a Bachelorette recap on Mondays on the live stream for the first 15 minutes because there's so much drama with this girl all the time. And Dr. Shand is like an expert on propaganda and American culture, and she's literally what her doctorate is in. And so we were going to talk about sort of like the ways society and dating are playing out on screen. And I was like, girl, we are out a show. We're going to have to go back to 90 Day Fiance or something.
Oh my God. Did you? There's been so much horrible news though too, like with the 90 Day
I
Fiance.
know.
That's one I don't even know how it's still on personally, but one of
I
the
know.
people from season 6 took the life of their baby in 2025, and
I
it
know.
just came out that it was ruled non-accidental. But this is interesting. It was non-accidental. What does that mean exactly? What
That feels like it means on purpose. Why don't they just say on purpose? Is this
it
not,
was
you know?
suicide. That's what I'm not clear on. Why was it ruled that way? I've never seen that before. And I was a paralegal for like 10 years, not accidental. Doesn't that mean someone did it? So there's a name for that.
Yeah. I love the 90 Day Fiance because I love to watch straight people struggle. Not really, but my whole growing up being gay, they were like, oh, you're never going to find love. You're never going to find love. So as I sit here in my beautiful 7-year-long marriage and such happiness, I like to watch 90 Day Fiance and be like, ha, who's on top and who's on the bottom now? Should have been gay. You might be happier.
You're not wrong. It's a mess out there. I don't even know how anyone is still trying to date out there. I listen to people's stories because like people tell me their story about being on like Tinder or whatever,
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and they did that, and you like that. You didn't like that. Okay, cool. So like it's just the world has become so strange.
It's a strange place, and I think that like with anything, they have to keep like upping the antics and upping the antics. But
Mhm.
even 90 Day Fiance has gotten to a situation where their talent has been arrested or canceled for various heinous things, and then they can't have them on anymore. It really drives people into such a precarious mental state being on that show. There's so much just gaslighting that happens from seemingly the producer side of things, this desperate attempt to remain reality TV famous so that maybe you can book shows or this is how this is your job now. And it's tricky. Yeah. Oh, people are saying I love to watch Real Housewives of New York because I like to watch wealthy white women struggle. I get it. I agree.
I used to love that show. And this is a side note to our thing, but I think this is just in the vein of what we're doing here. Did you see what happened to Bethany Frankel?
No, but I would love to hear it.
Okay, so I'm not a fan. Let's be very clear on that. But she bought this this face product, right? And it was like it looked like a little bulb with like a little glass piece coming out of it. And when she was using it in her video, it sliced her face. Like she had literal cuts like that, and like one over here, like down there. And I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God. That was like the big thing with Bethany this last week. I was like, oh Jesus. It was horrendous looking.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm such a weirdo, and I know you'll get this because you are history in 60 when you're like, she got a scar like this. Remember when the Nazis used to give each other scars like that so that you could never pretend that you weren't a Nazi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's just ironic. That's all. It's just
yeah. I think we need more of that these days because
we need like the new mark of Cain for people who have done truly heinous things to society, where you just get like a little Harry Potter zip or something, and we're like, okay, we remember that you were a bad person. Like Perez Hilton is trying to come back now, and I'm like, no, mark of Cain, no.
I lost my poop about that because I was covering the E. So E, worst investigative journalist I've ever seen in my entire life, and keep in mind, I'm traipsing around in fields with an iPhone and a telescopic lens. Really pops.
Yes.
But they had Perez Hilton on the America's Next Top Model, like look back or whatever
crazy.
like that. And he popped up, and I talked to at least 10 people that immediately turned it off when they saw him. Does everyone forget how he treated everybody? How much? So like everyone talks about, Britney Spears and her meltdown and how messed up that was, which it was. He was a huge part of that. And there are some things, in my opinion, you can't apologize for. I'm sorry. He was horrible. He took pictures of their kids and wrote things on them. And like
remember
in my recent
circle where he thought people were fat and everything too. It was awful, awful.
And I think there's like this other layer because they always say, well, the tabloids are doing it, whatever, which is a justification for terrible behavior. And we don't accept that. But like you weren't even a tabloid. You were barely making money on this. You did it for fun. That's different. And I don't like the tabloids either, but for him, his game was a little different. And whenever I see him, my blood boils. Like he's not even allowed to have a TikTok. Come on, guys.
I know. So I hate tabloids, asterisk. I did like going back to the 90s again. My grandma used to always have like the random little Woman's Day out, those little paper bag magazines. And she would get them at like the supermarket or whatever. She'd have her little National Enquirer. I liked when the tabloids were treated like a tabloid generally, not treated like a real thing, where it was like
news.
Elvis is an alien. And she'd be like, I don't know, maybe he is. It was like fun to read the tabloids and be like, oh boy, okay, the royal family, whatever. And now tabloids are, TikToks and cancel culture and people clipping other people and being like deeply critical of them, where this whole like manosphere clavicular thing where they're like, he's decomposing. And I mean, he is doing crystal meth. Talk about crimes happening in the manosphere.
Yeah. As someone who is very familiar with that particular thing, thankfully clean for like 21 years, but it's not going to help your looks. I promise you that much, sugar cookie.
No, I know. And like, also, I'm sad that the kids can't do drugs anymore, which let me continue on this thought for a second. Again, in the 90s and 2000s, you could share a little joint with somebody. You could take a little bump. You could make a mistake. You could do something without being fentanyl poisoned and dying. You could do it without, there was like a socialness to like sharing a cigarette outside a club, or like maybe having a little toke from something. And there was a little bit of like, it was like, and I, again, 20 years, haven't done a damn thing. Don't even take a Tylenol. But there was something like social about being a young person, pushing against the boundaries of society, making a big mistake and not having it be a final mistake. And I'm sad for the kids now because they are doing things like, I'm doing crystal meth, not because I'm doing it in like a social fun kind of way, but because I'm doing it to looks max. I'm doing it from a place of like, this is going to make me skinny or popular or healthy. And I'm like, that's a really dark place to be doing drugs from. You were supposed to do drugs from a fun place and an exploratory place. And now you're doing them from like a desperate place, and they're dangerous drugs. I interviewed these girls a couple of years ago who were talking about, talking about Gen Z politics. And I was like, what is it like to try and date and go out right now? And they were like, it's really difficult. I'm always looking for the red hat in his closet before I see if I'm going to stay overnight or not. They're like, but we carry fentanyl testing strips in our purse, so we're not worried about that. And I was like, you know what? Good for you girls. But
no, it's horrible. I have a 19-year-old, and she is out there. She's single and she's out there in the dating world and talking to people and all of that stuff. And some of the stories she tells me, like there's, a guy at work who he's been flirting with her a lot, but she didn't really realize how old he was. And then he came back from like his birthday weekend. She was like, oh, what birthday was it? 39 years old, trying to talk to my 19-year-old daughter. Trying to talk to my 19-year-old.
No, but we did it. I was like 17, had a 24-year-old boyfriend, thought nothing of it. We worked at the same coffee shop. It was totally fine. My parents loved him.
13 or 14. No, exactly. When I was 13 or 14, my boyfriend was 34. That's a whole problem right there.
That's what I'm saying. But it was so normal to us.
Exactly.
It was like, yeah, of course, why not?
And now I look at it and I'm like, that is so gross. Like one of my exes, or we hung out, we were like a situationship from back in the day, messaged me on Instagram because like my Zorro Ranch videos popped up. And he messages me and he goes, oh my God, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my God, I haven't heard from you in forever. How are you? Whatever, whatever. And then I realized I'm 39 now. He's 51 or not. He's 61 now. 60. And I was like, oh, because he was almost exactly 20 years older than me. And I was like,
Demi Lovato wrote a great song about this. I think it's called 29, where she talks about
such a good song.
How when she turned 29, she was like, of course you wouldn't want to date a 17-year-old. Like this was never normal. And this is when the Epstein file stuff started coming out and people are like, how could this have happened? I'm like, look, man, it was not only common, it was borderline encouraged. It was like, some girl in your friend group had an older boyfriend who paid for everything or did whatever. And it was like very normal. It was never
he bought
right,
us the alcohol and the cigarettes and, and took us to the rides or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, and even then, I remember this one time we got made fun of because my friend was dating this much older guy and we had asked him to go get us some alcohol and some cigarettes and stuff like that. Yeah. And he made this joke. He was like, you want me to get you some lottery tickets too? Like, looking back on that, it's so disgusting. And I'm just like, it was so normalized that I just, but I feel like that's a lot of what's happening because we talked about reality TV and all this stuff and the impact that it has on culture. I think that's a lot of where a lot of this is coming from. Because if you look at, like, we need to talk about Joseph Duggar and all that stuff that happened, right? If you look at shows like the Duggars, a lot of the TLC shows, United Bates of America, like obviously we've got some subtext there. I think that had such a huge impact on the level of Christian nationalism that we are seeing now, and stuff like that. And so I think that is such an overlooked connection because if you can normalize people like the Duggars enough, to let them in your home once a week and watch all of these things that they're doing, then when you see it in society, it's not going to be so different. And I think that is like such a huge part. Oh, someone mentioned Seinfeld. Seinfeld, this is my little rant. I have disliked that man since I was very young because I found out that he married like an 18-year-old when he was disgusting. Not to mention he's not funny. Controversial hot take.
Hot take. This is a Seinfeld hate account. A Seinfeld hate account here.
He's not funny. Like, oh, what is this? What is it about? That's literally his entire shtick. He's not funny. He was funny back then.
What's the deal with that? I don't know. Maybe they're not funny, and maybe they were all dating children, and maybe we're really glad that that's not happening now. There are two things that Millennial and Gen X people are doing these days that I like. One is not allowing our kids to date old people the way that was normalized for us. And two, not encouraging our children to join the military because we were lied to, and we're be goddamned if they're going to be lied to and go to Iran when they sent us to Iraq. And so in Afghanistan. And so I think there's some real growing that happened for Millennial and Gen X people. And this is something that I also talk about like in the political work that I'm doing, because everybody's always like, oh, can you get us Gen Z audience? Can you get us Gen Z audience? What's your Gen Z audience? And I'm like, my Gen Z audience is growing up right now. Okay. And they're very informed and they are caring, but we cannot be so over focused on 18 to 24-year-olds when it is the Millennial and Gen X people that are holding the water and the weight of what the last 40 years of politics has done to this country and are more likely to have maybe some resources or mental space to fix it. Older people are still trying to put on the backs of children fixing their problems. And so this has been my fight with like, Gen Z audiences need to be fostered and trusted and given space to express their concerns. You cannot be dumping on them the responsibility of you guys fucking up for the last 40 years. Okay. Like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to be like, vote for this 85-year-old senator one more time, Gen Z, because he's going to take care of you. And they're like, nah, man, we're running ourselves. We're running ourselves because we're done with this. And so
I have this saying, like, I don't think we should elect anyone or be voting for anyone who can't tell you the price of a gallon of milk. Those people haven't even shopped for themselves. And this goes all over the place. And they haven't even shopped for themselves in all these years. And then if you look at it from a marketing standpoint, which I always find this really interesting. So millennials are the target audience. If you look at all the throwback stuff now and all the bands coming back, Backstreet Boys, New Kids on the Block, all that stuff. So they're looking to market to millennials because they know that's where the population is concentrated right now. They have the resources. You know, we're a little bit more established. We're a little bit older, you know, that sort of thing, right? Yeah. Why are we not translating that into everything else? If it works really good from this marketing standpoint, then it's obviously got to work from a few other standpoints too. And to me, really where we're at right now, again, if you don't know the price of milk, you shouldn't be voting on anything. And then recently, like with Zorro Ranch and everything, I've had a very hard time with the politicians in our state and their reactions to things. And it's hard because they've done some amazing things, and I never want to like shit on that, you know, pardon my French, but I also saw what they didn't do. And because I'm here, you know, and so it's just such a hard thing now, because you'll be like so down with somebody and you're like, oh my God, this, that, and the other. And then they do something and you're like, oh, you're a politician.
Let's talk about Zorro Ranch. So Zorro Ranch, one of Jeffrey Epstein's properties that he actually purchased in partnership with the then Democratic governor of New Mexico, Bill Richard's son.
No, it was Bruce King, who his son actually ended up being our state attorney.
Got it. Okay. So, but was involved with politicians at that time. And this is where they're like, yeah, well, when the Epstein stuff was happening, everybody was a Democrat. And I'm like, and who are they now? This is about elites versus working class. This is about like weird ass rich people versus everybody else. It doesn't matter if there's a D or an R in front of their name. They swing to whatever's going to help them. Just like Mark Zuckerberg used to be a Democrat. Now he's a Republican. They're always going to swing to what will give them most power in the moment. And if the Democrat wins in 28, watch, they're all going to be back on this side too. So you cannot look at it that way. But Zorro Ranch was this sprawling property in New Mexico that Jeffrey Epstein owned and operated major crimes out of. And it's not been investigated nearly to the level that, let's say, his New York City mansion was. They bulldozed his Palm Beach house, which I get because so many crimes happened there, but maybe we should have done like a thorough forensic analysis before we destroyed all the evidence.
I agree.
So tell me what's going on in New Mexico, because you've been there a long time, well before this round of Epstein files came out and people started looking at it.
And so here's the thing about Zorro Ranch. It's the very strangest thing because it's an obvious cover-up. Like, and I'm really not like a tinfoil hat kind of person. I do have a lot of distrust in our system here because I've worked within it. I've been to the Halloween parties where judges are hanging out with the opposing counsel and off of girls who were hired to be there. I mean, I've seen some stuff, dude, and I can't prove it, so allegedly. But I mean, this was when I was like 15 or 16 years old. My friends were always dating like really old cops because, you know, my first attorney that I worked for, Rudolph Chavez, is actually in trouble and waiting a sentencing right now on a DWI scam. So, you know, I have very little faith here. And I think a lot of people do, but Zorro Ranch was so covered up. It's so strange because there are a lot of excuses like, they didn't cancel his land tracts until 2009 or 2019, right? However, his first conviction was in 2008, and our state district attorney got in trouble. Was he the district attorney or attorney general, whatever? But they got in trouble because he had been taking campaign donations from Jeffrey Epstein in 2014. We've known about this for a long time. At that point, they didn't cancel the land tracts. And this is the other thing. So when everything went down, the story now is the FBI told us not to investigate, so we didn't. And they just kind of didn't follow up.
The worst. Yeah.
Then the land council actually did go out there before they canceled the tracts in 2019, and they asked to be let onto the property to look at their land. Someone at the gate told them no. And so they just left and never followed up. Like, you can find all of this in the news. There's articles. This is all just like well known. And, you know, now what was really frustrating for me with like Melanie Stansberry, I'm going to be very honest about this. So she's been going hard on the Epstein files, and I want to give her so much props for doing that. But if you go back and look, she didn't mention Zorro Ranch until February. And that's when videos blew up. My video blew up. Several other people's videos blew up. The conspiracy files came out. We did a whole YouTube thing together. But she hadn't spoken on it before that. And now she's taking, in my opinion, a lot of credit for things she didn't do. And my mom called her office, I've called her office, friends have called her office. I commented on every TikTok post I could find. And it wasn't a big deal, but now she's getting all these accolades and pats on the back because of this investigation. And that brings the other part of it is I was out there last Monday. Last Friday, excuse me, which was 3 days after they announced the investigation. And there was no one there. There was the one guy at the gate who, like I told you, we had this very strange interaction. I drove up and I was standing on my toolbox on my truck to take pictures. And he gets out of his car and leans on the gate and just kind of looks at me. And I mean, I'm me. So I just waved and said hi and got in my truck and left, you know, like, hi, how are you? I'm not doing anything illegal. So it was very, very strange. And then I went down and I mean, I looked over the entire property. I have a telescopic lens on my Nikon and all that stuff. And I took pictures, which I need to put in a video. But there was no one there. There was no tape securing anything. It didn't look like anyone was digging or moving, but it just, if there is an investigation, it's hard to find.
When Michelle Grisham became the governor of New Mexico, she wanted to come on my show because like a lot of people want to come on Under the Desk to talk about what they want to talk about. And I'm really grateful for that. And I was like, I only want to talk about Zorro Ranch. And we have not heard back yet. Now, that doesn't mean that she won't ever talk about Zorro Ranch, but I was like, the thing you could do, and this was a year ago, before we even got the library out, I was like, the thing she could do right now that would build so much trust and would be so important is if she will talk about opening an investigation into Zorro Ranch now that she's the governor. Like now that she has the control and the power to say, something's wrong there. Whatever's going on, we need to use public domain or every state power we have to be going through that space. Yeah. And what's in his storage units and all that kind of stuff. So I agree. There's a lot more that could happen. There's some sort of like freeze up that these people have about talking about it. And I'm like, look, I know it's ugly and it's uncomfortable, but we're in the shit now. And you're just making it take longer. Please just like get the stuff out so we can get through the trials, so we can get some justice for some people. And we can move on as much as you want after accountability.
Yeah.
But all this stalling is like, it's so awful for the survivors. It's awful for the public. And it's terrible for us ever getting accountability or justice.
Well, exactly. And that's really been, in New Mexico particular, I know every state has its issues. We just have our particular stuff that happens here. And I want to mention missing and murdered Indigenous women, that we have a
Yeah.
real problem with that. And people and children also. We have a real problem with that. I don't know if you've ever heard of Servants of the Paraclete. You know the place where they sent the bad priests? That's
Yeah.
here. It's in
That's
Haines,
here.
New
Oh,
Mexico.
Christ. Okay.
It's been closed since 1994, once everything started really blowing up with the sexual abuse crisis. I took an entire
hmm
class on this, the abuse crisis in New Mexico, particularly, right? Our
hmm
bank, our archdiocese got bankrupted. We have a lot of stuff like that that goes on here. And that place was never investigated, never searched, nothing like that. And they harbored hundreds, if not thousands, of PDF priests over the years. I don't know how much I have to censor myself here,
Jesus.
but and so we
Well,
have
yeah,
a
we're
lot of
trying to, I
places.
think we're trying to keep ads on it since,
Yeah, so that's what I'm like. Let's just
until we
like be a
sell the
little.
show. If we sell the show, then there'll be no ads. But from now until then, we won't say too many big words.
Exactly. And so it's very hard here. And here's another part of everything that's hard that I always want to acknowledge here. We have some beautiful things here. This is
Yeah.
I mean, we are blue, but it's a little bit more purple. But if you stay away from those little towns, you're fine. You're good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we have beautiful people. I love the people here. I've lived here since I was in middle school, and I love everyone here. And I love the environment. I love everything you can do here. We just have some really big problems with our legislators, our lawyers, our judges. I mean, we've got a lot of problems in that
hmm
aspect. And that's what I think is so important to making it this utopia that people think it is. Let's really do that instead of passing like kind of a token law every once in a while to make yourselves look good.
Agree. Now, why do you think Jeffrey would have put Zorro Ranch in New Mexico? Are there like more lenient laws out there when it comes to sex crimes and things? Yeah,
Huh?
take a sip, lubricate there. Get
Let me tell you, we're talking
get
about
the
my
voice
special interest
ready.
right now. So I'm going to
Yeah.
So yes, actually. So if you look at New Mexico statutes, the technical legal age here is 16. And to get married, if you are, I believe it's if you're under 15, you can get married with parental consent or if you are pregnant. And that is still on the books to this day. And if you Google it, it's going to tell you something else. That's why we need to read the statutes, guys, because that's where, the
Right.
real information is, right? So Jeffrey Epstein, having been convicted in Florida, he had that sweetheart deal, right?
Right.
Which asserted that the victims were over 16, but
Mm,
obviously we know they weren't and all that stuff.
they
But
weren't.
because
Yep.
of that conviction and our statute here, he was able to come here and he didn't have to register as a sex offender.
Get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Get out.
Yeah. He
Get
didn't have to
out.
register
Get
here.
all the way out. Get all the way out.
It was a technicality that he only could have gotten away with, I want to say, in 2 states. But he didn't have to register here. So there was a lot of reason. And keep in mind, he bought this years before he got caught. So I feel like he had an
He knew.
anticipation that at some point he would. Then the other thing about New Mexico that I
Oh
think is
my
really important, people
God.
argue with me about this, but it's like, if you're not from here, like, you don't know, right?
Yeah.
But here, people don't realize that we are actually in the United States. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, I get asked whenever I'm out of town did I need a passport to come here? Last time I was in Short Creek, I was telling the guy because they finally got a little Mexican restaurant in Short Creek that has a drive-through. It's the only drive-through restaurant in town. And so we're talking, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm up from New Mexico and whatever." And they were like, "Oh, your English is so good." And I was like, "It's always comments like that. It is so interesting. Nobody realizes we're here." So, and
Oh
I don't want
my
to give anyone
God.
ideas, but if you wanted to do
Yeah.
something really wrong and get away with it, here's the place.
New Mexico's the place. I cannot, that is so vile. These people are so
Uh-huh.
vile, you know? Ugh. So, well,
No,
that
yeah.
makes sense why he did that. And I'm sure he had some deal with the local government going on. So maybe he got some kind of good zoning or some sort of like special protection because they had like their
Yes.
own. This is sort of like how Disney set up Celebration Florida, right? That was going to be the end goal here, where
Mhm.
like Celebration Florida has its own little fire department, its own little EMT. It was like up
That's
until
what this place
recently
was.
exempt from state laws. They were like, no, we run all our own shit. Don't come
Yeah.
in here.
And he was so deep too. That's the thing about it is he was very in deep with the King family, which they still own a ton of land in the area, which is who he bought it
Yeah.
from. Then he was very close to Bill Richardson. And Bill Richardson, I've met him, and I know a lot of people like really liked him. I met him when I was like 16. Not a good impression. Not a good impression at all,
No.
because like I had said, my first attorney was really into the Lobos and all that good stuff, right? And so, but it wasn't just the government, that part of the government. He was also really involved with our scientific community. And you can look this up. There was a guy who was working, I believe it was a New Mexico Institute, but he was in with the Santa Fe Institute and the New Mexico Institute, which are both huge science places, right? And this guy was working on eugenics stuff. And the way that the Institute divided themselves from it, they said that he was basically just a scientist who rented space from them. He wasn't affiliated with them, even though he worked in the same building. And they said all the donations Epstein sent to him were because of this one guy. It had nothing to do with the Institute, even though there's proof that they went out for dinners and all that stuff. They admitted it.
So this brings us to a great question. What about his swimmers? My infamous comment on CNN.
Okay,
I
so
got in a lot of trouble for that.
I loved that clip, though. The fact that you brought that up.
I was like, did I make it weird? What am I going to do?
Like.
Listen, every time I go on TV, I'm like, could be my last time. I don't care. I got to say what I got to say out here. We got to go.
That has got to be so daunting.
It's really, so one thing I'll say, Miss Audie Cornish, that is my girl. She like sticks up for me. She makes sure that I get to talk. She makes sure I doesn't get steamrolled. But I think I shocked her that day with the swimmers comment. So we were talking. I thought it was great. We were talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and I was saying there's so much more to investigate. Like, why was he donating sperm? And like, per California Cryobank's own policies published on their website, they do not work with clients who are sex offenders and different things, because they're like, that's just not what we do. So how did he get it? And why was he recommending California Cryobank to all his friends to go put their sperm on ice? I know he was involved in eugenics things. He was getting involved in a lot of what the manosphere does now with like longevity and trying to live forever and all this. So the California Cryobank did in fact call me and CNN and our lawyers and was like,
oh my God.
Look, now here's the good thing. The lady that we talked to, she was like, I believe in earnest that V has a genuine question. It wasn't trying to allege anything nefarious about us. I think they were really asking. So we're going to come at it from that perspective, which is why we're not, like coming after me for saying something that wasn't true. So I was like, and I do have a real question, which is, why did you have his sperm on ice? And like, was it used in donation? And they showed me everything. They were like, look, here's the deal. He donated sperm. He banked sperm. He didn't donate. Donate is different. That would have put it into like the perspective of possibly being used or anything.
Yeah,
he banked it. He paid to have it kept there. I said, okay. But he also said that if he dies, the sperm will remain banked and his estate will control it. Knowing what we know now, would you destroy it? And they were like, we will get back to you on that. Like, good question. Well, I can't answer like on the, she can't answer on the phone. So I was like, okay. And they were really fair to me. So I'm trying to be really fair to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so she was like, look, donation, banking are different things. This is something that obviously now we have to think about, like, what's going on with this and why are we keeping it? And is there a legal reason? And so California Cryobank is going to get back to me on that. And I do have the lady's personal cell phone number. So she was really quite nice about it. And I know that California Cryobank has done a lot of great stuff to help people have families all over the world. So I don't want to say that they're totally bad. They have made mistakes though. And they've admitted that sometimes, some sperm has gotten misplaced and different things have happened. So that's scary if it's still sitting there.
Can you imagine there's just some random dark corner there with all the lost sperm?
Right. Or like if you work in that lab, I'd be walking in and I'd be like, that's the Epstein sample.
I would accidentally have something happen to it and take the jail time.
Totally.
Okay, so this brings me to such an important question.
He did not donate. He does not, as far as that particular company goes, they do not have any record of, and they know exactly where his stuff is, and it was not used for any anonymous donation. So at least there's that.
Well, see, this brings me to a question that I have a lot, because Zorro was supposed to be a baby making ranch. That's what it was for, and that's what I'm wondering.
Because why
That's
California cryobank
yeah.
and not New York? Yeah.
I believe that the town was set up so that they could offer, and this is just me, so that they could offer experiences to the Johns, obviously. And I don't even know if that's the right thing,
Yep.
but it's the best descriptor I can think of right now because it's really weird. They have like the lodge that looks like a ski lodge. It never snows out there. Or like the greenhouse and all this stuff where you could offer experiences, which I think is part of it. But I also think part of it was they wanted to raise up these babies and have them in a somewhat normative environment, thinking they're in this
Like a
town or
town.
whatever. But that brings me to
Mhm.
my other question. Where are the children? Because there is no way you can run that kind of empire for that long and there are no babies. There is no way in hell. Where are
Well,
they?
and we know that a lot of women were reporting to him into his emails like, I'm pregnant, Jeffrey, or the baby is like this, or just had the baby, or it's a boy, it's a girl. There's a lot of that in the emails.
Exactly.
So like, what was that about?
Where are the children? And that's what I want to say because I know the leading theory is they were all kind of taken out or whatever, but I don't know. I wonder, like a lot of
Hmm.
these things, if when he was gone, someone else just picked up the reins and there's a bunch of kids somewhere that we don't know about.
Well, I think so. I think so. And now we're getting into what I like to call shit talking and speculating, which is the best part of having coffee with your girlfriends and doing
Oh, I
police
know, yeah.
dinner with your Duncan. So, people inherited the Epstein empire, not directly in the way you would think a king gives to a prince, but people picked up the pieces of this international like crime ring. You look at Elon Musk and what he's doing with so many different children and using IVF to have multiple children with multiple women. And we only know about certain of them. And then that Ashley St. Clair girl kind of like snuck out with like her story. She's probably one of many. I think it would stand to reason, given what he's already given away in information, there's something worth investigating there. Jared Kushner appears to have inherited or taken up the mantle of Epstein's ideas as it relates to like Israel and developing the Middle East. Certainly the war in Iran was an Epstein idea, and that is, being perpetrated through advisory from, again, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, even Steve Bannon and his connections to Jeffrey Epstein and the way that that influences the Trump White House. When it comes to money, I think there are lots of parts of his business that his brother maybe knows more than he's saying about, but this was not just when I looked up, because I worked in restaurants in the 90s and early 2000s, I was like, in New York City, I was like, he's in there. So I started like Googling all my bosses and all the chefs that I work with, and they're in there. Like he helped broker the deal for when Be Our Guest restaurants sold to Steven Starr, and Steve Hansen is in there constantly talking to him. This guy sex crimes were one of the crimes. There were geopolitical, international crimes he was doing. There were money crimes and grifts and racketeering he was doing. There was real estate crimes he was doing. There was this idea of like over investing in science to be able to control this idea of creating like a new master race or eugenics race or elite race. Like Harvard has that research and that data and whatnot. And so there's stuff everywhere with this man. And I do believe that people have inherited it. And that's why I'm interested in why this guy from Texas bought Zorro Ranch. This Christian nationalist MAGA guy buys Zorro Ranch.
No, and that guy, I've kind of been
looking into it a Christian retreat.
Like, exactly. That blew my mind. And then I've been looking into him and the things that he stands for. It's so weird. And he won. I think he won the election. I'm pretty sure. So he's the comptroller for the state of Texas now, I think. I'm not super familiar with the position. But my question one, are you David Duke's brother? Because those two could be twins. Have you looked at a picture of David Duke now?
They're the same looking.
Same person. And that's David Duke is a huge part of my very complicated childhood. That was what. Yeah, I will talk about this. Basically, I met David Duke when I was like 5 years old because that's what my stepdad was into. He was like a hardcore white Christian nationalist. And I haven't told my story on my page yet. I need to at some point, but it's just really rough. I think it's easier to tell other people's stories, right?
Yeah.
But first of all, that threw me off when I saw him. I was like, oh my God, that looks like David Duke.
He's got those eyes, like the Widow Kirk eyes, it's like
scary.
The Christian
and then
nationalist.
The other thing, when it comes to him, buying it out here, one, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And they went to great lengths to hide it. Great lengths. The only reason, so do you know how we found out about it?
No.
Okay, so basically this reporter at the Santa Fe, New Mexican, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but amazing reporter, has followed so much this. So when they bought Zorro Ranch, they didn't like how much taxes they had to pay to the state of New Mexico and how much the property cost, which the state of New Mexico took basically all of the profits. So just so we all know, that money did not go to the victims like Huffines is claiming, or Huffines or whatever his name is. That's not true. And so basically, when they took all of that money, they thought they overpaid. So they actually filed with the state to get their money back, and basically just saying like, this is not what we should have paid or whatever. And his wife ended up signing her name on that. That reporter requested those tax documents, and that's how we found out who owned it.
You gotta be kidding me.
I was like,
oh boy.
snaps over here. That is insane.
Always having their wife sign for it too. There are so many people who like put shit in their wife's name so they could hide their crimes and let her take the fall for it.
Did I tell you though too? This is the other part. So I was out there with conspiracy files. Sorry, I know so much about this, but I was out there with
this is what we're here for.
And I had made a story about this. I need to make an update video or whatever. But we got stopped by the cops twice when we were out there. This was before the Women's March, because they have an open call in the area. So they can just come out whenever they want. And I mean, I guess it's nice that they know where it is. I thought they didn't. Go fig. But it was crazy. And so the cops came out, and we actually had the new owner's son. So it's not the son that works for Trump. It's this other son. He's got a couple of them, who's actually living out there. And he came out and recorded us and like followed us and like creeped up on us with his lights off. And like, it was weird. It was weird. And so we saw his son out there. They're like really aggressive with how they're dealing with the property now.
I would imagine that they are. But you saw pictures of the inside of the property too, that were like, because you pulled them off like Zillow or some shit from like forever ago.
Sotheby's handled the sale, and it's totally gone now. But if you ever want to see the whole video, I can send it to you. But yeah, Sotheby's, I've been following this for so long, and everything I'm like, no, I'm saving that. They're gonna get rid of it. I'm saving that, you know.
What was the inside of this ranch like? Did it look like it was set up as a baby farm, or did it look like it was set up as like, because wasn't his Palm Beach house had like a princess room and weird stuff?
So with that, we didn't get to see as much of the house, but even in the new release of the files, there hasn't been a lot of strange stuff like that. But here's the weird thing about the house. So the house is set up, the house itself is kind of a fortress, right? There's 3 security gates before you get to the house, and the house is in this little square shape with a courtyard in the middle. So to actually get out, if you were in the main house, you would have had to get out 5 different gates. Like the doors in the house, then the gate to get into that courtyard area, and then you would also have to get through those 3 security gates, and it's out in the middle of nowhere, right? So when they were showing all the photos of the house, and this is, again, we're speculating and talking crap right now. Let's be real about that.
Yeah, this is shit talking and speculating. We'll get a banner next week so that people know this is all opinion.
The pictures that have been released, I do not feel represent the entire house. I feel like there's got to be some house in the basement, or people have thought about that there's tunnels that go out there. Someone did find the tunnels allegedly, but I've never been able to find them. And if someone else has, that's awesome. But I think, and again, speculation, I think there's more to the house than we see from the pictures. Because if you actually look at the house, like the part that you see, it is 2 stories, but it's not that big. So it's very interesting. And this is the other thing about the house. I go on and on, but they sold it with all of his possessions still in it. So the new people who bought it are straight cold chilling on Jeffrey Epstein's couch. Yeah. Let that just sink. Let's just ruminate on that. It's so weird.
Vile. Yeah.
It's crazy.
We will talk more about Epstein and Zorro Ranch next week, but in commitment to our promise, we were also going to get to Cesar Chavez stuff that's going on, which is all still happening in New Mexico, because Dolores Huerta, of course, is a New Mexico resident and one of the greatest women to ever live.
We have so many monuments to him here. Avenida de Cesar Chavez is it turns into Bridge. It's over on the other side of town, on the more of the south side of town. And yeah, he's very respected here. But that's the thing that I don't know, is how New Mexico will handle that. We tend to ignore things and hope that they go away. So hopefully we'll kind of like do something, you know, but it's a really hard thing here. It is to get people to listen here is hard.
In California, at least, it's Cesar Chavez Day at the end of the month, and they've changed it officially. Karen Bass re-changed it, and Newsom signed it, I guess, to make it Farm Workers Day, which is at least good. I think they should just straight up name all the monuments to Cesar Chavez for Dolores Huerta, because she was the one who was doing the work. Even if you, so I used to work in produce, right? Because I was a chef, and then I worked in produce and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so you really learn a lot about the farm world, and the way that the old timer people talk about it is that, yeah, he was the name, but she was the one who did all the work. She was really, Si Se Puede was her, and it's always been her behind. Of course, anything, it's always the woman doing everything.
And when they used to make coffee mugs like that when we were kids that said yes, behind every strong man.
Yeah, and in Italian families, it's well, the father is the head, but the woman is the neck. And I was well, the woman should slap the head in the face and be her own body, because this is ridiculous. Okay,
I always say if I end up in that situation, decapitate me, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm good. Just let's leave it alone. Okay, I'll do everything from here down. So anyway, Dolores Huerta. So they're changing farm date, but the old timers always say it was always her. It was always her. Something that I'm really proud of with this particular situation is we drag the mainstream media rightfully all the time. Yeah. The New York Times, for the last 5 years, journalists at the New York Times have been working for 5 years on a story that exposes the deep corruption, crimes, and harm left by Cesar Chavez, who is a massive idol, right, in the world, and who died in 1993, proving that it is never too late to investigate someone and hold them accountable for their crimes. Because people will say, who cares? Epstein's dead. We care. Continue. Really proud of the work that they did on that particular piece, and for Dolores Huerta coming out and telling her story, which is just something that is an unimaginable weight for her to have to carry. The fact that 2 times she had
Oh, V, you're glitching a little bit on my end. Hopefully that's not me. Oh, no. Oh, I lost V. Or did you guys lose me? Uh-oh. Yeah, it's glitching for me too. V is frozen. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's what I was like. Is it just me? Well, this is awkward. We're all here together. V's not here anymore. Or she's here. She's a little frozen. Uh-oh. I thought it was me. I have had so many issues this morning. Oh, no. So V is gone. I'm guessing she's jumping back in. But yeah, hey, it's you know when someone invites you to hang out with their friends and then they leave the room and you're like, hey guys, how you doing? I see. So there's really no updates on Joseph Duggar. He's following, someone asked that real quick, but he's following, or he's looking at 25 years to life, because I think it was in Florida. But yeah, I'm V, come back. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do most everything on TikTok. I'm trying to diversify, but yeah, so this morning is actually going good. I was so excited V wanted to do this. Oh, I just got a text. Hold on. Oh no. She had they had a power outage. Okay, so I am, but I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, so V had a power outage, and that is what they just messaged me. This is going to be a weekly thing. So when V gets this posted, go ahead and share clips and all of that stuff. But yeah, they had a power outage. So I'm going to go ahead and yeah, the literal text, okay, let them know something weird happened here. And their whole power just went out. Well, that's suspicious. But yeah, we're going to be doing this again next Friday. We're going to do this over and over again, which is a bummer because we were going to talk about Joseph Duggar. And before I let you go, I do have to put this bug in your ear. Samuel Bateman, who I talk about a lot, go to my TikTok, all that stuff, whatever. I'm trying to post on IG a lot too, but there's a new documentary coming out on Netflix April 8th called Trust Me, and it's about Samuel Bateman. So you should go watch that, and then I'm going to go ahead and post that tomorrow. So I know, what the heck? I'm like, but you guys have, I will be there next Friday. Yeah, we've been talking about this. So you guys have a good day. I'm going to go ahead and get off here and let them know that I let you guys. Oh, power's back. Okay, so I'm going to log out of this one, and then they're going to start the live. It's history in 60. Oh, wait, hold on. They just messaged me and said, I'm back. I'm going to restart the live. Hold on. I'm just messaging them asking what I should do. Their power just came back on, so they should be back in just a second. Don't be suspicious. So hold on one second. So I've been posting a little bit on YouTube, but honestly, I just need to get more. I need to get more consistent. I'm terrible. Let's see. Let's see if we can get them back. They had a power outage real quick, and we had a couple more things that we wanted to talk about. So let's see. I know, right? Like back in the, I just almost said back in the old days when I was a kid. So, but let's see. Oh, okay. So I have to add to the stage. Let's see. Oh, dang. So yeah, I don't think I can do that. Sorry, we're talking. I know this is so interesting for you right now, I imagine. Okay, so I'm going to close this one real quick. And then we should be back in just a couple minutes. Let me make sure I'm telling you the right thing. Okay, cool. We're going to start a new one. I'm going to go ahead and get off here and then just stay for like 5 more minutes and we will be back. Okay. Boop.
We're back. Okay, good. Thank God. Oh my gosh. All right. You're with us. Like I said, it's just a crazy ass day.
I know. That's what I told everyone. I was like, just wait 5 minutes. We'll be right back.
We're right back. Okay. It looks like it reconnected totally. So maybe it didn't cut off everywhere. All right. We be live again. That was the scariest thing. Okay. So I literally thought I was on a terrorist attack. Like, I'm going to tell you, did you see the light go out on me? Like, how did it look
just froze and then you were gone. Okay. And so I wasn't sure. Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, the government. So literally.
That's what the whole chat says.
I was scared. I was like, Iran has got my ass. Okay. Like the United States government, the Pentagon has finally got my ass because I'm in my little studio, which is just up the street here in Rochester. And all of a sudden, I'm talking to you, and all of a sudden, every light in this building went off. It was pitch black because there's no windows in here. So pitch black. So I'm like, I am in a terrorism. I am in a terrorism. Like of course, that's what I jumped to. I jumped to the furthest possible conclusion. All right.
To be fair, and this is something that, okay, so big part of my sociological studies and all of my stuff that I'm doing, and I'm not sure, I got to figure out my thesis and all that stuff, but has been like the because of my stepdad and all that stuff, the really horrible stuff of the like early 90s, and I'm talking like when we had Oklahoma City, then the early thousands with 9/11 and stuff like that. And if you look at our societal pattern, that's not really that far off as a worry, and something like that could potentially be looming very soon. Every time it gets this bad, something like that happens.
It feels scary. Also, fun fact about V. Spears passed. My first week of college on Staten Island was 9/11. So it like quite literally. And it was like, and really nobody who was in New York, in particular on Staten Island, I will say, because this happened down in Battery Park. And for folks who don't know, like Battery Park is here. Staten Island is like here. So we were like very, very close. Nobody has processed that particular trauma. We went right into patriotic moment and war and ignore it and rebuild. But it's super scary. So when that happens, I'm like, it literally can happen. Because, you know, if you're a person who has had deep grieving trauma in your life, the thing that you think could never happen, you're like, oh no, it's definitely happening.
It could happen.
It could happen. Yeah. Why wouldn't it happen?
Deeply traumatized
shit has happened to me.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that then like when something like that does happen, you know, like with me, with my particular brand of neurodivergence, I like click in, I'm in control, like we got this, because we're traumatized people who have raised in chaos. So of course that's when we feel normal.
People always ask me about doing the news when it gets really rough and things are very difficult. They're like, are you okay? And I'm like, never better, bitch. Never better. And not because I like it, but because I'm used to it. And when things are too good, I find myself being like, no, something's coming. No. It always feels like something's coming. If we're in the bad, then I know we're in the bad and I know what to do. I know what to do when we're in the bad. But when it feels good, I'm like,
well, I always wait for the other, shoe to drop. That's really where I'm at, you know, because right now there's just so many shoes I feel like are just floating in the ether that one of them's bound to drop soon and it's not going to be good. Plus too, aren't you having this like weird flashback to like the early thousands right now? Diet culture's back. We're starting wars in the Middle East. Like what in the action? Bill Clinton says he never did anything with that girl. You know, we got a lot of
it's all the same.
Here.
It's all the same.
Weird.
Listen, I am very against people thinking that heroin chic skinny of the 90s and 2000s should come back. You should not idolize that time. And I do see with celebrity access to things like GLP-1s and whatnot, which I think are actually excellent drugs for a lot of people. I think it really helps a lot of people and there's people who benefit greatly. But if you are already, you know, movie star skinny and you're using it to like push yourself into this like heroin chic thing again, I'm like, listen, Calvin Klein, we have survived this once before. We cannot do it again. It's too much. It's too much. Well,
and he's having a resurgence because of that show, which I'm JFK and Carolyn Bessette, which I'm conflicted on. I have watched part of it.
I did not watch it yet.
And
I want
it's entertaining, but it's not really real.
Women like Carolyn Bessette Kennedy don't exist in the way that they did back then. And so many folks think that they are her. And I'm like, but you're not. Carolyn Bessette Kennedy was a staunch Democrat feminist who hit her man upside the head, no matter what kind of Kennedy he was.
Yeah, he tried to rip her ring off and she attacked his ass.
Yes.
You know, like.
I don't care who your daddy is. And I love that about her. But I also think like we're probably also going to bring back all the JFK Jr.'s not really dead conspiracy theories. And like, it's just like a lot. I'm very tired of the Kennedys right now. Not in a way that I don't have respect for what they did for this country, but like the Kennedy boys running for office in New York's 12 and like RFK Jr. is out here. And I'm like, oh my God,
I can't do it with him.
Please leave me alone, Kennedy family. We can't right now. We have other things that we have to focus on. We can't Camelot right now.
Well, exactly. What I'm just really bummed about is that you and I can't make a workout video where I just wear jeans and you look confused the whole time.
First of all, when we sell the show, which we will, we're on the hunt. If anybody watching is a major producer, when we sell the show and we get our podcast tour, we are absolutely doing promo photos like that. We will recreate MAGA propaganda, but it'll be this.
No joke. I found that video. My ex-husband hadn't seen it, and I had said something about it, and he was like, "What?" And I showed it to him. Dead ass. He did not believe that it was real. He thought it was AI, and I was like, "No, I'm serious." This is
Oh
real.
my
This was
God.
posted. This is a real thing. But that's what I think whenever I think about like RFK and stuff. That's actually okay. So we're talking about
Talk
like
about
it's not this.
crimes. Talk about crimes that come on the police scanner, RFK Jr.
I know. Well, and Sister Wives, right? So I cover that a lot. Janelle
Yep.
donated to him, dude.
Dude, Janelle is such a disappointment to me. I was a ride or die for
And it.
Janelle, and
Same.
I can't. Her and her little white culottes, I can't anymore. Janelle is, I always thought Robin was the biggest villain there, and I'd love to know the crimes of the Sister Wives families because there's definitely criming.
Oh, girl.
But
Mary
oh, I know.
told me a lot off the record that I'm like, but it's off the
Okay.
record. So maybe we can talk
We're
off
gonna
the
have to
record.
make this show like an all-day show one time, just so we can get totally caught up, and then we'll be like, okay, we can only do an hour because it's way too much excitement. And I can go longer than 11:30 today if you want to just chill and talk.
Yeah, we can keep chatting.
We're here. We're here.
Yeah. Well, we still have so much to talk about. Oh, so I wanted to bring that up too with Samuel Bateman. I had mentioned it when you were gone.
Yes.
I was joking though. I said when your thing cut out, it was like, you know, when like you go to a party with your friend and then your friend like disappears to talk to people and you're just standing there like.
Yes. My wife texted. She's like, Kava's doing great. Get back on the live. She looks sad. I was like, okay. I was sad.
So no, so with the Samuel Bateman stuff, I spend a fair amount of time out in Short Creek with these people. Most of the people in the documentary I know personally, and have heard their stories kind of behind the scenes, and that's what's really going to be very interesting. I'll be out in Short Creek at the end of April, and pretty much everyone in the documentary has agreed to do either an interview or a live so that people can ask them stuff directly. And so that documentary is called Trust Me, and it's about Samuel Bateman, who I always call the wannabe Warren Jeffs, because that's exactly what he is. And this story is insane. Insane. Like, I don't know if you remember, I went to that trial like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was for this.
Oh Christ! What's the name of this?
Trust Me, The False Prophet.
Trust Me. All right, we'll have to watch that before next week. I am fascinated. I'm fascinated with you meeting Mary. Going back to the blackout terrorism that I exhibited here. I will not be silenced. I will make my way back on this live. And now we have a senator. I just got a text from Kirsten Gillibrand. She's going to hop on at 11:30 for just 10 minutes to give us a quick little update, casual, from the New York senator.
Oh.
Yeah, whether you like her or not, like she texts me and tells me stuff. So I'm like, okay, great. Thanks, Kirsten. She's been really trying to like do good stuff with the SAVE Act and the Stock Act. So she's got an update from the Senate floor about some crimes that are happening. She's going to come for like 10 minutes at 11:30 to give us an update. So I'm excited for that. Back to Cesar Chavez to finish out that before I was a victim of terrorism. He was very influenced by another cult that I know you know a bunch about, which is Synanon. A lot of his abuse and the tactics that he employed in his leadership of the farm workers and his abuses of children and his abuses of women in power and money, etc., comes from Synanon, which is a psycho cult situation whose practices focused on shaming people with addiction and mental health crisis by having them stand in front of the group and be told how awful they are until they break, and then the group could rebuild them. So I'm going to be digging into this a little bit more, but Cesar Chavez being a Synanon cult follower was not on my radar. And I think speaks a lot to the ways that he felt empowered and like God told him to do these egregious abuses. Also, he was short, and I think that may have factored in.
The short kings, they have a hard time, and it's like, listen, we all love a short king. Don't be
Be a nice one. Some of the best dudes I've ever met and some of the worst dudes I've ever met have been like 5'6". You're either like the fucking greatest guy alive or like something's fucked with you. Synanon and Scientology share a lot of the same techniques. Yes.
Well, and I feel like I can speak to this as a very short person. I'm only 5'4", and sometimes we get a little rowdy because of our ego. And I wish that more men could face that in themselves and be like, "Oh, I want to fight you because I'm like 5'4". Okay, like it's okay to admit that we have insecurities, and those insecurities may make us act like an asshole sometimes.
Hello.
I'm just saying, I'm a short person too. I see the world from a very low vantage point.
We have another celebrity in the chat right now. My very own mother's in the chat. I'm not going to put her name on the screen here because I want you to stay liking me the best. And if you ever meet Maureen, I'm totally out. Maureen is the OG police scanner watcher. So she's here. One of my
Hi,
favorite
Mom.
memories from childhood, as I said in the beginning, was my mom, who would sit around with the gals from the neighborhood and listen to the police scanner. And then if something really good happened on the police scanner, like something real deep, she would put the children into the car and we would drive around and go look for the police. Citizen journalism.
See, I like that. My experience as a child with the police were a little different.
Oh no, we had those too. We had those too. Don't worry. We had those
Oh no, my
too.
dad. Okay, so my dad, they did similar things, except his friends were the cops. And so we would get in his squad car after they had been drinking copious amounts, and they would drive around the neighborhood and put their spotlights on people sitting on their front porch just to scare them into going outside.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And then they would listen to the police scanner and have like little jokes between each other, like, oh, should we go get blah, 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 blah. But keep in mind, they're incredibly drunk driving a cop car. So
the 90s, baby. It was a
oh my
different
God.
time.
They thought it was the
different time.
funniest thing to waffle us, which is when you're in the back of a cop car and they slam on the brakes and you hit the grate. Waffle. That was
No
not fun.
seatbelts, man.
Yeah,
No
spoiler.
seatbelts.
That was not fun at all. Not fun at all.
No, she's wild. She's wild, Maureen. We love her. And she watches the news for me while I'm sleeping, or if I'm like busy doing something, and then she'll give me like a status update if something's going on. She's also,
like
we
that.
could give her her own show, because she watches a lot of like court TV on YouTube. So if I'm not live, then she's caught up on the trial. So she gave me like the Murdoch. She gives me like the 90 Day Fiance person. So I get all my true crime still. Maureen holding it down.
Oh my gosh, our mom should do a show, because my mom's the same way. Like, she watches all the news and like she'll call me and be like, "Did you hear?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, no." You know, she's that same kind of way. It's so nice. And like my mom, she's basically babysitting my 99-year-old great grandmother, who is a social problem in every way. And they watch Fox News all day, and it's like my mom will call me at night and give me her like analysis. She's like, "This is crazy. You know what they said? Do you know how they said it? They made it sound like this." So I think those two need to get together. I think they would have.
We'll bring them when we do a live show, which we will eventually do a live show. We'll bring our moms in as guests for. Where are you? So is your mom in New Mexico then?
Yeah.
All right, Maureen's in Florida, so we might have to bring you guys to Florida, or maybe we'll have to come to New Mexico. We'll see. But yes, we did watch the O.J. Simpson trial every single day. She let me stay home from school to watch the final, like when they were giving the the final of the O.J. Simpson's trial. It was outstanding, and I remember watching the white Bronco like in our TV downstairs, like fully watching it. If the glove does not fit, you must acquit. And she bought me a set of Pogs, which were very popular.
I love Pogs.
Had the O.J. Simpson. Yes, I had the O.J. Simpson Pogs with the Judge Ito Slammer.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even know they made that.
Yes, so I still have it somewhere in my childhood things. I'm sure it's probably worth like $1 million now. But this is why millennials and Gen X people are the way they are now, because we grew up with like true crime being entertainment television and like really being divorced of the victims of it and more involved in the spectacle of it. You know, I was like 11 when that trial was on or something. But
can we talk about, though, the fact that O.J. Simpson is like the most perfect illustration of karma ever? Like, so you didn't get caught for what you did. You even wrote a book, If I Did It. Okay, buddy. But then years later, he does something that gets him put in jail for an equal amount of time, just because he was being ridiculous, and then passes away. And I think that is the only like celebrity passing where none of the articles were like, "Oh, in memoriam, it's so sad." All of the articles were like, "He's gone."
We thought up here in Rochester, we were like, good, O.J. Simpson's dead. Maybe that means the curse of the Bills never winning a Super Bowl is over too. Maybe like that'll help us. Like ick. Yeah,
no, it's so
watching O.J. Simpson, top tier entertainment at the time. Totally.
I know, it's just so interesting. And then we were watching. You remember the Naked Gun movies?
Yes, I want to say this one, Chelly. The O.J. Simpson chase was on the same time as Nirvana Unplugged. We were switching back and forth. That is is iconic television. I mean, that is like peak 90s moment.
Oh my God.
I got engaged while he was driving his Bronco and everyone was distracted. Oh no.
Are you still married?
Are you still married? Oh boy.
I want to see what kind of omen that was, honestly.
Poor Bernadette.
I mean, I want to see what kind of omen was that.
Oh my gosh.
Your hair looks good.
Thanks. I keep seeing this like one little wily strand.
I hate when that happens, don't you? I'm like,
oh yeah, just watch the Naked Gun movies.
Those are, yeah, we were watching them the other day because Anna Nicole Smith is in Naked Gun 33 and a third, and we know she's like my queen, right? My daughter's dogs are named after her. We have Coco Nicole Smith and Gigi Nicole Smith. And so I wanted to watch it because I was like, oh, I want my Anna, my Anna
Miss
filler
Anna
right now.
Nicole Smith, she never got a dime. Turns out from that billionaire guy, she never got a dime after all
Nope,
that.
she never got anything. And realistically, like, I don't know. I just wish, this is my wish, and it's so many people like China from WWE and like all that stuff.
Yes.
I wish they were here so
I
that
know.
now that that young generation who loved them are adults, so that we could be like, no, let's give you come on, we love you, you're amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I hate that a lot of them aren't here to see this complete change in how people felt and how the world, upper world not changing, but how we would have received them. I just wish they could have felt that.
Monica Lewinsky is still around and she's got a podcast now. I'm very interested in how she feels about seeing, well, I actually think I'm going to hold my question for Monica Lewinsky for a couple of weeks because you know what's popular again and kind of aggravating to me? A lot of elected officials are sleeping with their staff members again. And it's like, I'm not interested in that. And I get tips, but it's a very difficult thing to just come out and say, and they're consensual and they're not, but I don't agree with people in power and elected officials sleeping with staff members in any way whatsoever. That power dynamic is never going to work. And I'm like, do the young people not know about Chandra Levy? Do the young people not know about Monica Lewinsky? Did they not remember
and that's the thing. Exactly. That's the thing when it comes to all of this stuff, especially with like Bill Clinton being front and center now. And that's one thing that I have a hard time with the state of things is that you can't criticize one thing without people thinking you're for another thing. And we know what I'm for. I'm very clear about that.
Yeah.
But with Bill Clinton, it's so hard for me. He's ruined so many lives. He's done so much damage. And then he goes in for this interview and everyone's like, no, he told the truth. Since when?
Please.
Since when? And not to mention everything that's going on right now. I remember, because remember Channel 1 News when you were in like high school and middle school that we had to watch? I was around when the last time we heard all this like weapons of mass destruction and blah, 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 blah. And people don't seem to think back to the fact that that was Clinton and then rolled into Bush and then just kept rolling from there. He's like looked at as like this godlike figure now. And I'm like, absolutely not.
People forget that Bill Clinton bombed the shit out of Al-Qaeda the day that Monica Lewinsky testified to pull, and the Operation Infinite Reach, it was called. And it was to make sure that her testimony got dropped down, way buried down, this is my opinion, way buried down in the headline news because he had bombed the shit out of Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
And it was this whole thing of like getting people spun up on terrorism and all the news channels had to switch to like what had gone on. And her testimony got lost back then at that time. And it was, that was not cool.
It's amazing the things that they lose,
Mm-hmm. And they forget.
That's amazing.
About. But I do wish more people would throw presidents at or throw shoes at a president. Like George Bush dodging the shoes was actually pretty iconic. Like,
well, my favorite is when he was trying to leave, but he tried to use the wrong door and he pulled on it. He turned around. He's like he didn't even try to pull out the other way.
Or he's like, we will get these weapons of mass destruction. Now watch this chip. Or when he's golfing, like the 90s were a deeply unserious time. Okay.
I know.
All right. Wait, we're getting the senator. Okay. Have her join the link. And then I'll put her on the screen. We've got Senator Kirsten Gillibrand coming to tell us something breaking in the Senate. I don't know what's going on because we've been kikiing and drinking our coffee and listening to the police scanner. So when she comes on, it'll be a surprise to me. Why does it feel like they're trying to launder Clinton and Bush as good guys? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I have a lot of problems with the whole Bush thing, and I will reserve my comments for members of his family that have, risen up and gotten opportunity.
Yeah, that's what
the only political child I feel bad for is Chelsea Clinton because, like, girl, boy, she did not deserve this.
Her parents are a lot, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're going to see Kirsten Gillibrand. She's here. I'm just waiting for her video and her audio to show up. There she is. I see her on the stage. Oh, she looks good. She's wearing pink. Senator, thank you for being here, friend.
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we were just shit talking and speculating. Today is our true crime show. So we're talking about like all the crimes that are happening. And I got a note from your office saying that you had an update for us.
I do.
So yeah, hit us with it. What is it?
Okay, so there's two updates. One, the
Okay.
SAVE Act is bullshit.
Yes.
People need to know it's the Save Trump's Ass Act is what it really is. It's designed entirely to subvert the elections and to make sure that people actually can't vote. And I want people to understand this because what the Republicans went to the floor yesterday to say is that, oh, this is just show ID. Well, pull out your wallet. There's not an ID in your wallet right now that is good enough to register to vote. Your license is not good enough to register your vote. If you're a military veteran, your military ID is not good enough to register to vote. So they're full of it when they say that we just want a picture of you. False. What they really want is they want your birth certificate. Now, for, I don't know, 70 million women who have gotten married and changed their names, your birth certificate does not match your married name. So you would have to go to that office and get it reissued with your new married name, which means you have to bring your marriage certificate, which do you still have that? I don't know. I probably couldn't find mine. You have to bring your marriage certificate. You've got to bring other information and change your birth certificate. And then you got to wait for it to arrive in the mail. Is that something that most female voters who have changed their name are prepared to do if they need to register? Probably not. I did it when I was a young lawyer and it took a long time. It took a long time. And I did it right after I got married. So I had that marriage certificate right on my dresser drawer. So that's one. Two, veterans won't be able to use their military ID. Neither will active duty service members. And they have to register to vote all the time because they're constantly being deployed to different places and their families are being moved. So really screw veterans. And it will screw older people who probably can't find their birth certificate. And they might not have a passport. You know, a lot of older people stop traveling. They stop, you know, when you hit 75, 80, you don't want to travel the globe anymore. You're not going to renew that passport if you ever had one. And about 50% of Americans don't have passports to begin with. So the only two pieces of ID that work is your passport and your birth certificate. And most people don't have those two things. So that's designed to keep people home, to make sure that they can't vote. It also says you can't vote by mail, which really hurts people who are homebound, seniors, people who are disabled, people who are sick. Anybody who doesn't feel they can actually go to the polling place are going to be disenfranchised because they can't vote by mail anymore. So those are two things that stress me out. So I don't like this bill. I think it's very damaging. It's going to disenfranchise actual voters. And it's not about keeping illegal immigrants from voting. There's literally no evidence of widespread vote fraud anywhere in this country. And then the third thing that bill does is that it requires states to send all their voter rolls to Trump. So what's he going to do with that data? Is he just going to say, I don't like this last name, and anybody with that last name has to prove that they're a citizen? I could see this is being used in a very racy way and a very racist way. So I just can't imagine that's good for anybody. So that's why the bill is so toxic. And then the second issue I wanted to brief you on was this $200 billion request for the Iran war.
Girl, I know. What the hell?
I hadn't heard that one.
200 billion.
200 billion. Do you want to know if I could invest 200 billion on behalf of my constituents in New York, where that money would go? It would go to cover dental and hearing and vision for our seniors who don't get that covered by Medicare. Like, that's BS. So we should cover them. Second, we would cover all the Medicaid patients who have just been cut off. We cover them. I would cover the food nutrition assistance that people desperately need. I would cover early childhood education. I would cover a national paid leave bill. We could do all of that, make a dent on all of those problems with that $200 billion. So obviously Trump does not want to invest in America. He wants to invest in an overseas war that does not make us safer, that nobody wants, nobody asked for. And we've not even been able to vote on it to show that the American people are behind this war. So he's excluded the American people completely from this conversation.
You are very right. And also, a lot of folks are out there feeling the pain of TSA agents not getting paid and the complications with the travel department, which, you know, Duffy seems to be reveling in. He was on Fox News, like, talking about, like, oh, it's so terrible. Blame the Democrats. I'm like, dude, you're in power. They've put forth
and
bills.
We've given them 7 chances, literally 7 chances to fund all of Homeland Security except for ICE. So to fund FEMA, to fund the TSA agents, to fund border control, to fund literally everything except for ICE, because ICE needs reforms. And our job is to fix it. Like we can't let these rogue wandering police forces that are shooting Americans and killing them not have oversight and accountability. You know, one of the parts of the reform bill is literally just follow the law in Texas. So you can see this is not some NIMBY blue state crazy request. We literally said, just follow the basic law that law enforcement has to follow in Texas. And they still don't want to do it. So they are, again, full of it. This is not a real debate. They just want to shovel money at the things they want, and they don't want to help the flying public. They don't want to help FEMA. They don't want to help the rest of Homeland Security's very important mission of making sure drugs aren't coming into our country, making sure we don't have international terrorism at our borders. All those things we want to fund fully. And Trump keeps firing the people who are expert at this stuff. You know, he fired all the people that had an expertise on Iran. Because he was mad about them because they did the investigation on January 6th. Like, really? But they're the most expert. We have decades of expertise on Iran, and you're firing them. So he obviously doesn't want to keep us safe.
Well, you took your pearls off when you first sat down, which is how I know you're ready to fight. She's like, I'm hot out here. I'm hot. I'm pissed.
And plus,
how do we stop this war? How do we stop this? No, you look great. But how do we stop this war, right? Pearls are off. He keeps bombing people. He keeps more strike packages. Like, how is the American public doesn't understand how he's able to do this without Congress authorizing war? Like, how do we stop him?
What he's doing is illegal. And if we're going to stop him, it's probably going to require massive public protest, a la Vietnam War. It's going to have to be every college, every kid, every person who cares about the future is going to have to march on Washington. We'll need days of action. We're going to have to show physically that we do not assent to this. And it's going to take a massive protest to do this, to get it to enter his brainwaves. He needs to see things to believe them. He doesn't take that the country's angry and pissed off about this decision he's making. And I don't understand. He ran as wanted to be the president of peace. He ran as no more foreign wars. He ran as I'm going to get grocery costs and housing costs down. And he's done literally none of that. Housing costs, grocery costs, energy costs, medicine costs are all through the roof because of his tariffs, because of his war. He promised to invest in Americans, but instead he's investing in bombs. He promised to get costs down. Instead, he's rising our energy costs. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Like, these are knowable things he could have assessed before he decided to bomb Iran. But he didn't come and talk to people who have been studying foreign policy and national security for decades, Congress, who he's supposed to be talking to when making these very hard decisions. Going it alone is ridiculous because it's harming the country, harming our constituents, harming our public safety, and making the country less safe overall.
He's such a coward too. He's out there now being like, well, I didn't know that Israel was going to bomb that energy facility. I wasn't briefed. And it's like, how was the president not briefed so are you saying there's a disconnect between the Department of Defense and the president right now? Like, are they doing things behind your back? They should be held accountable if that's true. Like,
yeah, he should fire Hegseth. So
fire
one of the things
Hegseth.
I focused on when I had my chance to question the administration in the Armed Services Committee, I focused on the fact that a girls' school was bombed with a U.S. missile. It was a devastating attack. It was such a breach of all humanitarian guidelines and how you keep civilians safe. But bombing a girls' school that the New York Times could, from a Google Maps, a readout from satellite footage, could assess it was a school. What were they doing? How could they have gotten this targeting so wrong? How could they have made such a horrendous mistake? And I think the reason is because Hegseth fired all the people that are supposed to make sure our bomb targets avoid civilians. We had a whole division that does that, a whole group of people that's their number one job, and he fired 90% of them. He also continues to belabor this issue of we need lethality at all costs, and not understanding that we actually follow the law of war. We follow the Geneva Convention, so it keeps our service members and our civilians safe. When you create a military operation that is a decapitation exercise and then target a civilian girls' school, well, what the hell? What do you expect them to do to the United States? What do you expect? What type of attacks will we receive here? People generally like to do proportionality. Well, if they just do to us what we did to them, that is a disaster. And so I don't understand why Hegseth isn't being held accountable. He should be fired for his failure, fired for his lack of judgment, fired for his inability to do his job properly, fired for all the people he's fired because he doesn't like them. All the senior generals he's fired. He wants to fire, I don't know if he's done it yet, but all the senior counsel, the JAG officers whose job is to make sure this stuff is enforced. He's basically firing the people with experience around him who arguably would guide him to do the right thing.
If folks have not seen it, it's posted on my page right now. Senator Gillibrand asked, can you explain to me why we targeted a girls' school? And whoever the chairman was, it was a man, so I didn't pay attention to his name. I said to you, he was like, Senator, I think you mean accidentally by mistake. And you're like, no, I don't. I said what I said. And I was like,
yeah,
good.
well, he was trying to say
my language.
He didn't mean to say target. I was like, well, that's what happens. They targeted this building and they didn't assess. Obviously, they weren't planning on killing girls. Like, that is true. Right, so we can absolutely say, of course, we were not planning on killing children. But the targeting, which is a term of art, was done to this building. And apparently, and I haven't gotten a full report on this yet, but what's publicly available is at least what the New York Times explored, is that the data was from 10 years ago. And I can't imagine why it wasn't updated. I can't imagine why there was no basic review. But because it used to be a naval operations building, it was in their target set and it was part of the attack. But we should do better than that. We don't rely on 10-year-old data for anything. So why in the first attack, where you have enormous time to plan, to make sure it's exactly right, why there'd be no layer of checking or confirmation that this target set was the right target set? That is what is appalling, and that's why Hegseth should be fired.
So that brings up a question for me, though, about a lot of this. Do we know this was a mistake? I mean, honestly, it didn't seem accidental. And the way that this administration confronts and treats children and women, it makes me question, did they not know, or did they know and now it's more convenient to use the other excuse?
I can't imagine anybody in the U.S. military would intentionally target a civilian site. It's just not the ethos of the men and women who serve. They take their responsibility of warfighting very seriously. And that's why it's the commander who should be held responsible. Because if he is changing the culture by making people believe that the Geneva Convention or the laws of war don't count anymore or don't matter, by renaming it the Department of War, by demanding lethality at all cost, he is creating a toxic culture that someone who is more junior might not feel they can say, but boss, we haven't really scrubbed these targets yet. But boss, like, we're supposed to do A, B, and C first, and you've just fired all the people that do A, B, and C first. So when you create a culture of fear, of he's going to fire your ass if you don't say what he wants you to say, that's not good. That's the exact opposite of what you want in a civilian run and led military, because the chain of command is inviolate. So if your civilian, Secretary of Defense can't care about the American values that are informing everything we do, from the Constitution to how we name secretaries of defense to how the Armed Services Committee provides oversight, you're destroying the oversight and accountability that makes our constitutional democracy the strongest in the world. So he is destroying the fabric of what makes us be able to protect civilians. So I can't imagine anybody who serves would do that, because people who serve are sacrificing everything to serve. I can't imagine Secretary Hegseth fucking with the norms of our constitutional democracy and how we are supposed to implement the chain of command to protect humans, particularly civilians and innocent girls at a girls' schools. So he should be held accountable for this failure 100%.
Absolutely. And folks in the chat are worried, but like, who would replace him? Would they be even worse? Because, we're seeing Mark Wayne Mullen now come in after Kristi Noem. He's no better.
I can't even imagine somebody worse. But if it is somebody worse, then we take that person out appropriately too, if they fail in their job. He's failing in his job.
Right. Period.
He cares more about image than he cares about reality. Everything is about show. He's a showman. He's not a serious leader.
He's a hack and a fraud. And I love to hear you say that. And I do think that there are people in the administration or in the chain of command that would do well. I think if Driscoll were to be brought up as Secretary of Defense, he would be certainly better than Hegseth. He at least understands chain of command and discipline of some form. So, I mean, there's something there. But what do you got going on the rest of the day? What other horrors await us?
Well, we're waiting to vote on the Save Trump's Ass bill. And so when we vote on that, we will vote no. I think most Democrats, if not all Democrats, are voting no. And we will try.
Even Fetterman? We got Fetterman now?
I don't know what his views are. He tends to look at things from a different perspective because his state is very red. And he's much more of a moderate on a lot of issues. And so when he looks at issues, he's not looking at it from the same perspective as you or I might look at it because we have a different frame of reference. But I haven't talked to him. I will talk to him about what his perspective is on this. But he's with us when it counts. And that means we need him in our coalition 100%.
Yeah. At least until the primaries. Great chatting with you, Senator Gillibrand. I appreciate you so much. Is there anything else that we need to know before you get back to work?
No, but thank you all for staying focused on what's happening right now. We need the whole country to be focused on what Trump's doing to our democracy, why he's funding another forever war, what we can do with our voices to stop that funding, and where that funding should go. It should be going to the American people, getting our grocery costs down, getting our housing and healthcare costs down, and doing the things he promised to do, which is why people voted for him. But the good news for us is that people are changing how they vote. And so in those red places that voted with Trump last year or the year before, most importantly, they've shifted. We saw in the statewide in both New Jersey and Virginia that those red counties flipped blue. We saw statewide in Georgia and Iowa flip from red to blue. We just saw a special election in Texas flip 30 points. So people are voting differently. And so all my focus politically is on the midterms. And I'm going to flip New York. I'm going to work on 3 House races in New York 1, New York 17, New York 21, run the best candidates I can, raise money to do grassroots organizing so that people can be heard and vote. And then I'm going to run 11 races. I'm working on raising money for 11 races for our battleground for the Senate. And those races, I think we can win at least 4 to flip the Senate. So I'm very optimistic that we have an opportunity right now to flip the Senate. And so if anybody wants to support, just go to the DSCC website. You'll see all our candidates. We're doing a New York majority fund as well to do New York if you care about New York. But grassroots advocacy is the key. Understanding who's running, lifting up their message, fighting hard on their behalf is all something people can do today that will make them feel more empowered and less powerless when this president is doing such horrible things.
And I know if we do get those flips, a lot of people want to see accountability before reconciliation. Epstein files turning to Epstein trials. And I know that you're on the side of that too. So we'll be looking forward to that.
We need the transparency 100%.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, Senator. We'll see you later.
Thanks,
get back to work.
Meeting you.
You can leave out the bad words if you want. I'm sorry. I got to.
No, I'm leaving them in.
She's from New York.
She's from New York. Get used to it.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Okay. Senator Gillibrand dropping F-bombs. It's different, you know?
I know.
She gets pretty feisty. I think she feels like we've built a good relationship because I'm and continue to be very critical of her when needed. But we built a decent relationship where she'll come in, she'll give us an update on what's going on. She listens, she takes feedback. And I think that that's taken me 5 years to get to with her. And so we try to make that a thing, especially when it comes to Epstein stuff. And when it comes to women's voting rights, she is in particular really strong. She's big at the ERA, even the Equal Rights Act. She's tried to get that passed so that we don't have to worry about just the 19th Amendment holding women's right to vote in place, and that there is actually like the ERA fully passed and ratified. And so, you know, politicians are weird people. They're high highs, there's low lows with them.
Well, there's this, so I took this whole class on American politics, right? Because my minor's in history. And we took this whole class on it. And my teacher used to get so frustrated with me because I'm kind of a political purist. And that was one thing that I really noticed about a lot of the political stuff and how we went through it, that if you were a purist, you probably aren't going to make it at Capitol Hill. And I've always thought about that and thought that was really an interesting dynamic, because that is how I am. But some of the bending that they do sometimes is necessary, even though I'm like, how dare you? So
It's so
it's
annoying.
really
I
interesting.
know. I want them to be perfect and do exactly how I want them to do. And then I'm
Exactly.
like, all right, fine.
that
I'm
too
not
much
the
to
only
ask? I
voter.
don't-
I'm not the only voter in New York. Like, you have to represent everybody.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't think it's too much to ask. You should know what I want and give it to me.
And just give it to me. So folks are asking if I can get Gavin Newsom on. That is a no can do.
Are y'all not homies?
No, we are not. There's a couple senators that I could get on that I've worked. I mean, when I say worked, like really hard with. Senator Mark Warner of Virginia is another one. We have beefed about TikTok and national security and like so much. And then we have built a better relationship to this point where he really understands what the fail points were and understanding the TikTok deal and obviously the consequences of it now and whatnot. And he's been a great advocate and open door to me. We can, there's a couple folks we can get. Newsom is not one of them because I have very deep feelings about what he's doing and I don't agree with him at all. So I would not have him here. Same thing with like Hakeem Jeffries. I'll never get Hakeem Jeffries. Chuck Schumer still talks to me. I think it's because he has a flip phone and he doesn't see any of the TikToks that we make about him. So.
He's like, I can't get the internet here.
Like, so. I have no idea what's going on. My staff says that you're pretty good, so I'll let you have it. But
well, see, that's what was interesting though about her answer to what I asked about. Oh no one in the military would ever do anything like that. Yeah, they would.
Yeah, they would.
And so I didn't want to be rude because it's your guest and I didn't want to say anything, but there's this documentary about Vietnam that was never allowed to air in the US. It has John Kerry in it. And it from back in the day. Let me see if I don't remember the name, but we watched it in a film class, right? Let me see what it's called. And it is all about the atrocities. Like, I'm going to give you the name, but watch it at your own risk.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. It is because it was never aired in the United States because it was so controversial. Is it this one? I believe it's Winter Soldier. And it came out in 1972. And it has if you watch it, I'm serious, like so much warning on that. It talks about what really happened in Vietnam amongst the soldiers. And it is some of the most disturbing, disgusting things I've ever heard. We're talking about putting a wire on a woman at the bottom and slowly pulling it up.
No.
Yeah. We're talking about necklaces with ears, and they had a program, Ears for Beers. And if you came back, the amount of ears you had at the end of the day were how many beers you got at the end of the day.
No, this is look, I was alive to remember Abu Ghraib, right? Like
oh God, and when they stacked them.
Yes, atrocities that the United States military has committed, will commit in the future, certainly. And that's why leadership is important to hold them accountable when that shit happens and not go crazy. And it's why I had a difficult time when Ron DeSantis was running for office, because of course he was at Gitmo for so many years, Guantanamo Bay. And he was, the one he was a JAG. He was figuring out just how much we could torture people and still be legal. And I think Hegseth is a sadist and a very strange person. And I have no doubt that we will hear really, really, really vile things that are happening under his administration, as we do with all administrations, because war is hell and war solves nothing. And the war that we're in right now is extra sick.
Yeah, no. And it reminds me of so this is Civil War times, right? So in the Civil War, there was a guy who was so for the Civil War. He was about it. He was from the South. And so him and his wife decided to have a picnic next to a battleground. And when they did that, he didn't have the real of what war is. He just thought, this is going to be fun. This is going to be so great. We're at war and blah, blah, blah. And they went down and sat it. And he immediately changed all of his beliefs and realized what he was doing to people. And that's what I think that a lot of people have a disconnect with, is the reality of what is happening. Because when you see it on a screen or you're just pressing a button, it's not as, I hate to put it, it's not as impactful for some people. And that's what I think about a lot is that all these people, and this goes for citizens as well, they're like, yeah, do it. You've never seen the realities of it. I haven't either, but I have a good idea and I don't want that to happen to anybody.
Right.
And so I keep going back to that story.
Back in Afghanistan, Iraq war, like, okay, so we had the Twin Towers go down and we had this big patriotic moment. We had a lot of propaganda. We didn't have citizen journalism or the internet to set us
Get
straight
her
or show us,
done. Yeah.
frontline, reporting on the ground, what's happening. And I remember the quote being, "We're putting warheads on foreheads." And that's where Pete Hegseth's mentality comes from. This idea of killing terrorists and America first, and we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way, and all the Toby Keith of it all and everything. And that is just not the American sentiment now. Granted, sure, there's always going to be a lot of people out there who still think that. But I would say the increasing majority of young people and folks who went through it are like, no. That I'm really no.
Well, in this, like we were talking about earlier, what's going on right now is a carbon copy of what happened between about 1999 and forever, basically. So, if you're over, I want to say if you're over about 30 or 35 years old now, you've seen all of this. You've watched this playbook. So you don't even, at this point, you don't even need to go into CRT to understand what the real history was because you were there. And that's what I think is just so crazy about it. And that's, sociology in a nutshell, just watching people repeat the same thing over and over and never learn a lesson. But I think on a larger scale, people are thinking critically and that sort of stuff. It's just this horrible group that is not the most of us, it's the least of us, but they happen to have all the power right now, and that's what's really frustrating with the whole thing. And I also get frustrated with what she said. I'm gonna be real. When she says, well, you guys need to go out and protest. So first of all, we've been doing that to a great degree, not to mention police are now circumventing protests because you can't legally get arrested for protesting. No, you can't, but they can detain you and therefore stop the protest and let you out a couple hours later. And they've already deterred and hindered the active protest. And so why does it keep coming back on us when they're the ones literally sitting there like, hey, stand up for us, dude. And we've been, I was just at Zorro Ranch at the Women's March, and we've done the No Kings and we've done all of that. We are doing our part. They're not. And that's where I get frustrated.
I agree. I think that Donald Trump really does only respond to public adoration or public admonishment. And there's some level of that's why he's trying to say that he didn't bomb the gas facility or he didn't know about it, or no, we didn't. I don't think that was ours for the girls' school, because he knows it's unpopular and he just cannot handle taking responsibility for anything like that. So I think the No Kings thing I know does really bother him, and he is very upset with his approval rating and whatnot. And they have to come up with these fake ratings for him. But Pete Hegseth is trying to get the satisfaction of war that he didn't get being a captain in the National Guard and a low-level extremist who was pegged for not being on special missions. So now he's got all the toys and he wants to use all of them to sort of feel what he wished he felt as a young man in Iraq. But now we're going to do it in Iran, or maybe we are going to put boots on the ground in Iraq. And it's all has to do with a dream deferred for him, a dream of killing people deferred for him. And I think that's the kind of sickness.
The way they talk about it, they're so excited. It's disgusting. You know what I mean? It just breaks my heart. And especially these young men, because it sounds like a weird comparison, but I remember dating as a younger millennial woman and dating guys who had come back, who had just come back, and stuff like that. Even my ex-husband, when I was married to my ex-husband, he was in the Army. I was a military wife. He went off to, do all of that stuff. We broke up pretty quickly. We broke up when I was 6 months pregnant with my daughter, but we still had contact when he was over there. He came back. He was horrible before he left. He was a horrible person, but he came back even worse. And that's how so many men from our generation came. They were, they were just broken. And I think we've seen that happen so many times throughout history. I can't imagine talking about this while you're frothing at the lips, basically.
It's a sickness, and a lot of my veteran friends are I'm deeply disturbed by the way he talks about things and the way he's the fog of war and World War II and all this stuff. And it's bro, it's not like that at all. And in fact, one of the more times that I went viral was for the way that I covered the Afghanistan pullout, because it was Donald Trump's out there being everybody's dead. It's all Biden's fault and fuck everybody and everybody's a failure. And it's no. The people that were there for 20 years, especially on the front end of it, weren't there because they wanted to put warheads on foreheads. They were there because they were told that we were bringing democracy and freedom to a country that didn't have it. Partly, some of the army guys remember, not all of them, right? Some of them were bad, but like there was a good amount of people who were responsible for like seeing women not have to wear such strict hijab, seeing girls' schools be built, playing soccer with some of the kids who were in the streets of Afghanistan. Like they remember the people who cooked food for them at Chow. They remember like building relationships with the Afghan civs that were working as interpreters for us. There was a level of like camaraderie and community between American soldiers and Afghan people on some level for some people. And when you go, it was all a failure. We're like, yeah, we know, because you were lying to us. You were giving us just a little bit of feel good while you were trying to like, you know, steal all the oil and like do all this business. And now, you know, Israel's out there saying on the Tucker Carlson show, and I think when they joke, they're telling you the truth. There is always truth in jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Tucker goes, so we're talking about from the river to the sea now, meaning from Egypt to the Euphrates. And they're like, yeah, that's not a joke.
Exactly. Well, and that's what's just so crazy about it is that it's, you know, I don't know.
This is their war to create greater Israel, and I don't want to do it. Nobody wants to do it, and it's not going to work. It's not even going to work.
It's such a strange thing, the whole thing, because there's so many, like, again, back to the history thing. You know, it always comes down to the Middle East. It always comes down to the Middle East. And it's like, even in World War II, that was one of the big reasons we got involved. Of course, you had Pearl Harbor, but you also had the fact that the Nazis were getting into the Middle East. They were starting to take room over there. And we could, like, if they took that, they were going to take everything. And that was a lot of the reason. And, you know, honestly, like, I mean, maybe this is just like a matriarchal thing or whatever. If we could figure out a trade agreement and we could all just like kumbaya this out, everyone could be prosperous. And people in Cuba wouldn't be worried that they're going to starve to death next week. And you know what I mean? Like, lines on the map should not determine human decency. And that's like, it's just a sociology. It's all a construct. It's not really real. It is real, but it's real because we made it real. And so like, we could erase those lines. We could support each other. And I know I sound like a hippie right now, but you know, there's no reason that this has to continue other than the fact that we are all caught in a pissing contest between a bunch of rich dudes. And it makes me mad.
Rich old dudes who will never suffer the consequences of the decisions that they're making today. They're all making these short-term decisions because they only have short times left. So they're like, what could I do to get the most money in my pocket before I kick the bucket? And I'm sick of it.
And they'll all be gone. And that's the thing too, is we had talked about this earlier. I do not
dumb kids will take it over, and their children are even dumber than they were.
Well, and this all goes to, we were talking about, so we talked a little bit, we didn't get into Joseph Duggar. We need to though. But
we promised Duggar. So we will do Duggar last week. Let me just look at our thing here. Now that we're on war, one Afro man winning his right to use police footage in his music video. I loved. The cop trying to eat his lemon loaf was hilarious. That's all we could say about that. Tulsa Massacre.
Lemon pound cake.
I know, lemon pound cake for the win. The Tulsa Massacre is being investigated, and they found 78 new graves representing just how much worse. It just came out this morning. How much worse the Tulsa Massacre was. We will follow up on that next week, and I think that catches us up on our promises up to the Duggar boy.
Okay, so the Duggars, and that actually rolls so well into what we were talking about, because I blame the Duggars and people like them for a very large part of what we are dealing with right now. Because did you know, like, when it comes to the Duggars, they're going to push this, like, America first, whatever the hell a lot of these people are pushing. But did you know they don't join the armed forces because they have their own militia?
Shut up. What?
Swear to God. Swear to God. The one used to be Smart Academy. I don't have it in front of me, but they have their own military training centers where they send the boys and they do genuine, like, boot camp drills, like because they are creating an army for God.
Stop it.
I know. Yeah.
Stop it. So what are they? So like they're creating their own Christian nationalist, quiverful homeschool armies?
And they have been since
Can't they
Reagan?
just do the Boy Scouts like normal people?
Oh no, I know. And that's why if they're so into it, right, you would think, well, you're gonna go join the military. They don't. Alert, thank you. Thank you. Alert was it. Alert Academy. And then there's another one. But you can look up videos. I've actually made videos about this a long time ago. When Josh's trial was going on. And they're building their own armies. And a lot of those people that are within those groups, those are the ones on the right wing. Those are the ones who are getting the stuff ushered in. So there's just such a large connection between what's going on in our country and what's going on with that. It's crazy.
People are like, how did you not know about the Christian military? Probably because I was busy dealing with the crimes of the regular military.
Yes.
I didn't think to look into this one.
We've got so many militant people. We're doing the best we can.
There's so many militias. I know. It's why I have Dava here, because you know so much about the culting of America. And we'll have Daniela come also from Uncultured. But
you know what? IBLP is one of the few groups I have not been able to get into, like anyone, because like the FLDS
that's that
welcomed
organization.
Me in. The Bateman group welcomed me in. They tell me their stories and all that stuff, but I cannot crack those people.
Is the IBPL people, is that the Plaths also, or they're?
So the Plaths had similar values, but to my knowledge, they were never really involved with IBLP. They were more just that like really problematic side of Southern Baptism.
Got it. Okay. All right.
And they got another, I can't believe they got another season. It makes my heart hurt. But okay, so
they got to
getting off
that family isn't it destroyed enough? Like, can't you people? Yeah. It's like Sister Wives.
I wouldn't be coming to, but it reminds me that whole family is the uncle you have to change your shirt for that's coming over and your parents still let him around. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. And if you think about it, when it comes to, oh gosh, my brain, I have ADHD. My brain just went out.
I know we've been going for like over 2 hours, so we're going to start to get tired and weird.
This is what I was thinking about, and I wanted to make this point. I just made a quick kind of recap video. So Joseph Duggar and Josh were potentially active at the same time, because this incident that Joseph got involved in was in 2020, and Josh got arrested at the end of 2019 or middle 2019. Mm-hmm. So they were effectively probably perpetrating at the same time.
Now, why isn't there an investigation into this family? Because, that type of behavior is learned,
Arkansas
so, doesn't. Okay.
Back in the day, this is a whole story, but back in the day, Oprah was actually tipped off about what Josh had done.
Here she is again.
I know, we need to do that show. And so she actually had called, there had been some reporting from the show. There was also reporting because one of the girls that Josh went after was a babysitter. She wasn't part of the family. They had been able to cover it up when it was part of the family, but then this other thing happened. However, they knew he needed to talk to the cops, so they took him in after the statute of limitations had run, because there's a statute of limitations on CSA. That's insane. There should be no statute.
Never, no.
And so they take him in, and the guy that they took him in to make the report to has been arrested twice, one for CSAM and one for distributing and manufacturing CSAM with his own granddaughter.
Good Christ. Oh my God.
Arkansas will do nothing about them. Arkansas loves the Duggars. Even if they, like Mike Huckabee, I don't know if you saw that in my video, Mike Huckabee came out right after Josh did what he did and said what Josh did is horrible, but it's not unforgivable.
And now they got the widow Kirk down there trying to put the Turning Point USA into all the colleges. She's got her own problems with the Romanian adoption agency and all this business. Like, so far we've learned New Mexico is where you go if you are Epstein, and now the Duggars are where you go for Arkansas. Have any of the J sisters left the family? That was a question in here. Like, are any of them speaking out against this? Like, there has to be something.
Yeah. So Jill has spoken out. Jill has been the most open about speaking out. She had released a book. I want to say it was at the end of 2024 or maybe early 2025. So she did put a book out, but I feel, and a couple of the other sisters have, but they're still intensely indoctrinated. Even if they've deconstructed the IBLP, which a lot of them have, they are still in really problematic religious belief systems. And so their books are very, give it to God. And this happened, or they don't even mention it at all. Because the thing about the sisters too, is they were really re-traumatized through all of this when everyone found out what happened to them.
Yeah.
Because even so, what Joanna didn't know what happened to her, and she got to hear it described at Josh's trial. They never told her.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting. And so counting the cost. And so Jill's book is the one that I would read to go through. I read that and I felt like she was the most open about what had happened and came from it in the most reasonable way. But her and her husband aren't reasonable. He's transphobic. She's a problem herself, you know, but they did have some good information in there.
Yikes. Well, we have now talked about all the things we promised we would talk about.
Yes.
We're 2:12 in. We were the victim of a power outage. I think we lost the live stream on TikTok at some point. I don't even know what's going on. It says it's still running, but I don't know if it's still running.
Jill made a comment yesterday. I didn't see that, so I'll have to look at that. But yeah. Anyway.
All right, we'll look at Jill's statement. We will be back next week with more Police Scanner. We'll always let you know the night before what we think we're going to talk about. And I appreciate y'all being here. I hope you had fun with it. It was fun for me.
I enjoyed this. This was so fun.
It was really fun. So we'll put a little structure around it at some point, but not yet, because this is really just supposed to be fun.
Yeah. No, it's going to be, I really enjoyed being able to talk about this and more of an, you know, because like I make 7-minute videos, but that doesn't give you as much time as you'd like, you know?
People are saying best first show ever. This was amazing. Love this so much. Good. Because I loved it too. I was like, look, I can make videos all day by myself home alone, but I'm not even sure people learn like that anymore. I think there's so many videos out there. We just want to like, again, sit around with our coffee and Kiki and talk about it. So,
oh my God, do you think we'll be like Trixie and Katya? Can we be? Like
I hope so. Yes, I do. I think that people just want a place to hang. I mean, this is the Joe Rogan formula, right? He gets on and he talks to somebody for 3 hours and people watch. And I'm like, if I could take away some of your time of having to, you know, if I'm competing with Joe Rogan, I think I'm winning. I think we're creating a good space for people to chat. And I love the chat. I love that people on YouTube are able to have their comments shown and then we can respond and react. So it's like we're all a part of it. It's like,
I would just like to correct one thing. So instead of calling him Joe Rogan, we call him his real name, Fear Factor Guy.
Fear Factor Guy. Yes, we have Fear Factor Guy.
I don't ever want him to forget where he came from, sir.
No. And the socialite Jared Kushner. That's what I call him, the socialite.
Yes.
No, we'll have to come up with the other ones. Yeah, the drunk, Pete Hegseth, the drunk.
Oh my God, I love when people call him Keg Seth. That gives me.
Keg Seth is great, and we always call Erica Kirk the widow Kirk because if she wants to try and profit from her husband's demise, then we will let her. You know, the widow Kirk.
Have you seen that drag queen who's doing show?
She's doing a live show, actually. It's coming up, that drag queen. It's at the $3 Bill, which I believe is in New York City. She's got a whole right-wing show coming up where they're doing the whole cabinet. Different drag queens. I need to be there. I must attend. So
well, they're giving you like inspiration. Because if you didn't know this, I used to be a burlesque dancer many, many years ago.
Well, of course, because that's why we're friends. I'm not a burlesque dancer, but very good friends with many people in the Femmes and Follies troupe.
No, it's so much fun, right? And I was a cosplayer. And so I had this idea of doing like a comeback show, but doing it to like some ridiculous 80s song about missing someone and wishing they'd come back, but just like Kamala's picture and Obama and all that stuff and just like breaking down on stage throughout it and just like, I
think it would be good. I think it would be good. Yes. And thank you all for the chat. Thank you all for hyping us up on our first day while we were working out the kinks. We had a lot going on, but you know, that's life, man. And then
the government terroristed you and took away your power.
A senator dropped in, no bigs, totally fine. Why not?
She's like, oh, damage control. They noticed.
She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm on live right now. You want to get out?
That's so funny.
All right, I'm going to end the stream, but Dava, stay on so that it uploads. Because if you click off, then we won't get the recording. And then this will be reposted to TikTok, to YouTube later, and we'll try to get some clips.
Yeah, text me when I'm good to kind of like log out of this.
Yeah, well, you'll stay with me. Okay, we're going to end the stream. Thank you guys.
We're going to end the stream.
Remember, I'm live. Okay. I'm live every day, 10 to 11:30, right here. We have different show every day. Mondays is like pop culture and propaganda. Tuesdays, geopolitical issues. Wednesday is the intelligence report. This coming week, we have Amanda's Mild Takes, who is coming to give us a little bit of history of what's going on. Thursday, good news only. Friday, police scanner with our girl History in 60.
Sweet. This was so much fun. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. My sound issues and my Zoom will be worked out next time.
Yeah, we'll work it out next week. This was dress rehearsal, but you know, on stream. Why not do it live? All right, I'm going to end the stream, but you stay on. You stay on.
Okay, yeah, I'm not going to click out.
Okay.